here? Where's the change at? Oh, really? Tell you what, that every time, a lot of people.
Me too. Why didn't you tell me you was wearing black instead of brown today, bro?
Well, we wanted to change the stand out.
Make him look good.
Then I got out of college. I drove a truck cross country for a while. A refrigerated truck.
A reefer, yeah.
And got out there in San Francisco one time and loaded up a load of quartered beef. It was in gunny sacks, frozen solid. And of course we stacked it in the truck like cordwood and what have you. Found out it came from New Zealand. And we started to cross the country, and every stop we made, there was somebody there to be sure that we made that stop, that checked on us. I could not believe it. Really. This was in 58.
Yeah. Wow.
And they tracked us from
San Francisco?
San Francisco.
Where were you delivering it to? Where'd you take it?
St. Louis,
St.
to a
Louis?
soup factory. And there was a guy at Winnemucca, there was a guy at Denver, there was a guy, I forget where the other one was before we got into, there was one before we got into Missouri, and then they tracked us all the way across Missouri. They kept.
Now this was quarters of beef that you said went to a shoe factory?
Soup factory.
So it was hides or something? Or
No,
what?
soup factory.
Oh, a soup. I'm sorry. A soup factory. Factory. Gotcha. So they're putting that beef in some kind of vegetable beef soup or something, yeah?
But I could not believe. You'd have thought we had an atomic bomb or something on
Thought
it.
you were carrying hazardous
Right.
material. They probably didn't want a bunch of people knowing you were bringing New Zealand beef into that, into that soup shop, yeah. All right.
We'll take it from our farmers.
Gotcha. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, everybody. Start out with the minutes.
I had a chance to read those, and I think Kim's got them down good, so I'm going to move the proceedings of the Board of Commissioners for Montezuma County for their regular meeting February 5th, 2018 be approved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the minutes for the Board of Commissioners for February 5th, 2018 be approved. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Where do you sign this thing?
Well, everybody's in trouble. I'm the one making coffee, so
Oh, you are? Oh, good for you.
we'll see.
Should only be one place. Oh, it says needs to sign. There's two places he needs to sign because of an application. Okay.
Did I miss the?
Oh, it just says you need the Forest Service.
Yeah, that's just an attachment that I need. Sorry.
Okay. All right, Mr. Andrus, we're
Come on, James.
anxious to
Are
hear.
you well today?
I'm well.
Good. I'll shake your hand then.
So is January's weather. It certainly was better than the previous 3 months.
Well, today looks better and it's looking better today.
A little bit, only slightly better. I'll explain that as we go along too. Why don't we just go to that 13-month summary since the year 2018 summer just has one entry.
This one?
Yeah, that one. Okay. Yeah, battery must be
Remote. Here you go.
Okay, well, not super. Alright.
Push the button, push the button. There you go.
Oh, okay.
Got to hold it.
Oh, I gotta hold it, okay. Yes, January was more generous. There's 3 previous months that were extremely dry. They were
Those are real beauties there.
real beauties, yeah. But at least we managed 85% of normal
Good.
for January. Got exactly 3/4 of an inch of precipitation. Most of it in the form of rain. Total snowfall for the year now, counting the 1/10 of an inch we got so far this morning, 3.4 inches. So it's all about 10% of normal for our winter season snowfall here in Cortez. So yeah, things are indeed looking a little better. Sneak preview of February, so far I've only recorded 0.09 inch of the precipitation, 10% of normal for February. Hopefully we can start making up some lost ground here. That persistent high pressure ridge over the west, which is bringing us the warm, dry weather, that's broken down. And we're starting to get some moisture from the Pacific Ocean. I'll go ahead and go to the 30-day forecast.
This?
See, not that one.
30-day?
The 30-day. There we go. Okay, yeah, our 1 month outlook for February calling for above normal temperatures, and further down the page, below normal precipitation once again. The situation we got right now, we had the ridge that was built up like this, pushing the jet stream up there and the associated storm track. Now the ridge has been replaced by a trough that goes about like this. We've got a southwest flow right over the 4 corners, which is why we've got lots of clouds here this morning. We've got a winter storm warning out for the San Juan Mountains, 10 to 18 inches out of this storm. Much less for the lowlands, however. That the water getting imported from the Pacific Ocean is a pretty short trek on that jet stream, so it doesn't have a lot of chance to pick up a lot of water from the Pacific before it dumps it on us. It'd be nice if we had one of those Pineapple Express situations where you would get precipitation of moisture coming up from deep in the tropics, then we'd really get dumped on. But at least we've got something going here, and this trough is pretty much giving us a more unstable weather pattern here, alternating sunny days with some rainy days. Supposed to have more rain in the middle of the week and again on the weekend, so we got a chance to get something at least. The 90-day forecast is showing much the same pattern. Wake up, computer. There you go. Once again above normal temperatures, and below normal for rainfall, although not well below normal like they're forecasting. A 50% chance of below normal way down there in southern New Mexico and southeast Arizona. So yeah, they're still a little bit pessimistic as far as our long-range outlooks. It's going to take a lot to make up for those 3 really dry months we had. We really need to get clobbered like we did for the previous January. We were 334% of normal. It's almost 3 inches of precipitation. It'd be nice to get some really wet months like that to make up some lost ground. The situation with the dry winter so far that shows up in the drought analysis shows us the severe drought category. That's this color here. You can see that a large chunk of all the four corner states are now in severe drought, including us. Over here in the Texas and Oklahoma panhandles, they are in extreme drought, as is some of eastern Arizona and southern Arizona. So that's all the result of that extremely dry start to the winter here. You can see that we'd have to get a lot of precipitation to reverse this drought situation for us. At least Montana's gotten some relief. They're not in extreme drought anymore. But still, now we need some help down here. We need more consistent precipitation. The SNOTEL report shows the situation also. Northern Colorado, they're in pretty good shape, 75 to 85% of normal. They're closer to the Pacific Northwest storm track, so they're getting much more snow in the mountains there. But the further south you go, Gunnison Basin, 58%. Here, the Dolores Basin, 31% of normal. The figure for Upper Rio Grande was missing, but I saw that it was 34% of normal. I see the Arkansas Basin is even in worse shape at 20% of normal. So once again, that dry winter has sort of thrown us for a loop here, rain-wise. A little bit of snow falling here this morning. You can see not much. Interesting local situation here. We have a southeast wind this morning, and that puts us right into what I call the Mesa Verde shadow. It behaves very similarly to the Sierra Nevada mountains, where the air rises over the mountains, and the air cools and can't hold the water vapor it dumps on the mountains. Then the air descends down the leeward side of those mountains, and that's why Nevada is such a desert state. And here in Mesa Verde, we get the same kind of situation with a southeast wind. The air is rising over Mesa Verde, dumps out there on top of the mesa, but the air then descends down the north face of the mountain. It warms and dries, and we get less precipitation here, right here in the Cortez area. So that's a situation this morning. We're in that Mesa Verde shadow with that southeast wind, and down there. So that's I cut off our snowfall right here in Cortez, probably further north in the county, or up in Dolores County. They're probably getting more snow this morning than we are.
Well, Shock says the wind's blowing at the landfill. They're actually closed this morning.
The landfill's closed this morning. Oh,
50, what'd you say, 50?
56 is the highest we've had so far.
Miles per hour winds.
Whoa, wow,
So,
a little windy.
You said wind,
Mm-hmm.
you got it right.
Yeah, the Weather Service reported at the airport, they were reporting 15 to 25 mile-an-hour winds, but yeah, interesting. I think they got a concentrated wind field there by the dump.
Did they? They're closer to Mesa Verde.
So that's the situation with that Mesa Verde shadow. That's, there's our 85% of normal compared to the previous January, which was 334% of normal. We'd like to get some more really wet months like that. In March March is our wettest month of the spring. We average 1.04 inches of precipitation then, so maybe that'll help us out. So that is our situation.
Okay,
Thanks, James.
thank you very much.
Keep your fingers crossed.
Here's hoping.
Yep.
We'll open it up for public comment. If anybody has anything they would like to say, if you come up to the podium, state your name and address, tell us what you have to say.
I'm Gayla Pock, 7672 County Road CC, Pleasant View. I just got my tax bill a few days ago and went to pay it, and it's 60% higher than it was last year. Like, whoa. So I started looking because I've just seen you gentlemen wrestling with trying to cut the budget because you're getting so less revenue from taxes. And so I compared the abstract from the assessor's office for 2018 with 2016, which was the highest tax year, I believe. And I don't know what's going on. I don't understand this, and I'm hoping you can help me with it. But oil and gas produces roughly half of the property tax to Montezuma County, and the private property, ag, residential, industrial, and commercial produce about half. Well, from 2016 to 2018, oil and gas went down about 40%. But based on my tax bill, which went up 60%, actually from 2016 to 2018 it went up 62%. And I haven't had any changes like add an addition to my house or anything that would account for that. So based on my 62% increase from 2 years ago, I'm assuming that the rest of the counties, everybody else's tax bills went up about the same. Well, if half of the revenue, it doesn't, well, good.
What land classification went up 60%? Was that your ag land?
Well, most of the cost is based on my house.
No, your residential is different than your agricultural land, and you have both.
Yes, I do.
So I know your home values did not go up 60%, because I know that as well as I'm sitting there. Everybody's residential property tax went down this year, and that was number one. Even if your assessed valuation went up, your residential property tax went down because of the Gallagher amendment, and they dropped the assessment from 7.9 to 7.2. So possibly your agricultural land has gone up 60%. So I think you need to be real clear on which part of that went up 60%.
Well, I don't think...
They're not combined, they're separate.
Well, I'm not sure I know quite enough to be able to look at that and figure it out. I should look at that, but
Yeah.
Just on the face of that, if everybody else's taxes went up 60%, then there's something wrong with the county having a reduced tax base.
You need to go from your, not from your tax bill, but from that thing that came a month or two ago.
Well, I've
the
gotten so many of them,
valuation.
I don't really know which one is the real one. I did try to look at that, and I was going, I can't tell. So,
Have you talked to Leslie?
no, I haven't. Well, I went over to the assessor's office and tried to get some answers, and wasn't real successful. Maybe I didn't write. Well, I know I wasn't asking the right questions. I got told that. But it just doesn't look right. And yes, I know I don't understand the whole thing about property taxes, and I don't know, just because maybe my ag land is worth twice as much as it used to be, but if I was only paying a drop in the bucket taxes on it to begin with, even if it had doubled, it still wouldn't, it'd only be 2 drops. So it wouldn't make that much difference. The bulk of my tax bill is based on my house. And my assumption is that most everybody else's is probably the same way, because their ag land probably isn't worth, didn't go up much more than mine did. I don't know. This bothers me.
So are you trying to say that if we went down 40% on the oil and gas, but yet your taxes went up 60%, it should equal out?
Well, it should more than equal out. If half goes down 40% and half goes up 60%, then over the 2 years you should have had an increase of somewhere in the vicinity of 10%. Now, these are very rough figures, of course, but it should have gone up, not down. And yet, what I saw here when you were doing the budget is it's gone down substantially.
And a lot of Kinder Morgan's is not based on real property, on land values, it's on production.
Yes, that's
So-
right.
So you're trying to compare apples and oranges when you're comparing Kinder Morgan to your ag land property tax and your residential property tax.
No, because I'm just comparing dollars. Dollars that come in from Kinder Morgan, I mean on oil and gas.
Sure.
Sure, they pay some property taxes too because they
Sure,
own some
they
land.
have
But
a lot of property.
but their production is just dollars, and that isn't appraised or anything else. That is just based on their production. But as long as we count dollars for dollars, there should be no problem with comparing one to the other.
I have the abstracts up here. This is 2016, and I think what you're looking at right here is oil and gas. Can you read that number, Amby?
No, but, well, I
Three-
can't, if I had my glasses.
348 million. This is oil and gas in 2016. This is 2017, which is what they're collecting on right now.
277.
It's gone from 348 to 277. That's the value of the oil and gas property. Can you read that number total county? Oh, right here, this right here, 30 million.
30 million, 98.
And this one over here is, what is that one? 31.
Now, which one is that?
This is 17 and 16 abstracts.
Okay, 17, and you're looking at
See, I was looking
Oh,
at that, the 277
277, okay.
versus the, is this 16?
No, I'm missing 16. I need to get this. This one's 15.
15.
It's 482. Well, I want to keep it for more than that. This is just the abstract. I don't even need to keep them. But wasn't 2015 the highest year? So
That
the
might be.
482,000,
Could have been.
I believe it was.
So it's gone from, in 2 years, it's gone from 482 to 277.
Right, yeah, it's decreased by about 40%. But it just doesn't seem right.
Well, then there's the difference between oil and gas their production gets charged at 87%.
I realize that. It
And
doesn't matter. I'm only looking at the dollars they
residential,
pay.
well, residential was 7.92 and now it's 7.2.
Yes,
So there's a difference, each one of these times the percentage, and that's how all that adds up to get to these numbers right here, what
But
they generate.
that doesn't matter. All that matters is how much money they pay. That's what I'm comparing to. Because how much money oil and gas pays, how much money I pay, how much money somebody else pays in taxes, that all comes into the county's budget. And it was the budget that you were wrestling with, that you just didn't have enough money. The money coming in had decreased so much. So all of that, however much the 87.5% that oil and gas pays, doesn't really make any difference. That has been constant. Well, it doesn't matter if it's constant or not, because I'm only looking at dollars. I just don't feel comfortable about this.
So are you telling me, Gayla, that your taxes that you paid on your home and your farm went up 60% from the previous year?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I can't believe that.
Last year, I paid $632. This year,
And this is on the same property?
exact same properties, no changes.
Okay.
This year, I paid $1,011.
Then I would go and show that to Leslie and have Leslie explain that to me, because I don't think that should, unless your ag land went up, and that did in most instances, especially irrigated. If it was irrigated land, it had some increases in it. But your residence should have gone down. There's no way on earth it should have gone up.
But isn't, so there might be one way, even the percentage collected went down, if the value of the home went up enough, then you
Right.
could actually
Well,
pay more taxes on the
I don't think they did a
home.
reevaluation last year.
No.
I don't think they do that every day, so they
And-
didn't do a reassess values.
And isn't that just based on square footage of the building?
Not always.
It's
I-
sales, sales from the previous
Yeah, it's comparables, and they've
16
got a
months,
number of things that go into that.
Well-
18 months minus the,
Yeah, and there's always some adjustments, you know, new construction,
Right.
things that get
But I think
torn
you,
down.
I think you deserve an answer from the assessor, Gayla, not from us, because far be it from me to know exactly what's going on your property and your taxes, but that's where the assessor should be able to either explain that to you as to why it changed that much and what made it raise that much, or say we made a mistake and it's not, we need to make an adjustment.
I agree. You deserve real answers. We're all here
we're
guessing.
just speculating. We're sitting here, you're.
But this does strike you as being
You're asking the
unusual?
biologist English literature questions here. I'm not very good at answering those.
Okay, well,
If you need help getting like an appointment with them or something,
Yeah.
let me know.
Let's do it.
Maybe email or call them and ask if you can have an appointment. Take your bill in and show it to them and see if you can
Yeah.
get answers.
Okay.
That's where you get your answer on that.
okay, I will do that. I will warn you that if other people have these sorts of problems, you'll be hearing from other people too, I would expect.
I would think
Well,
so.
I think when you got the valuation, you should have got a deal that told what the valuation was. That's when you need to really take a look at it, because that's what's going to determine what your tax bill is.
Well,
What the
So,
assessed valuation,
right.
assessed value is.
that's true. But honest, I looked at the valuations and I had so many of them, I couldn't figure out which one was the real one.
Well,
You know, I've kept
On
them
the
all.
assess- on the
Yeah.
assessed values?
Yeah,
that compares it to the previous
we,
year.
we got several sets of
Well,
them this
she
year.
had
shouldn't have got
she
more
had
than
to
two.
do some work this year because
Yes.
she had some difficulty. She was handed
Yes.
some difficulty from the previous assessor. So
Yes, I'm
there
well
was
aware of
some-
that, and I don't want to say anything bad about Leslie. You know, she did inherit a problem, certainly.
Not a
Well,
same problem, a bunch of problems.
but she's the one that can answer your question.
Okay.
They should answer that to your satisfaction, Gail.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone else? Okay.
Hi, my name is Kelly Ayers. I'm here today to see if I could possibly get a letter of support for a grant that I am trying to get. I'm starting a textile recycling business. I have been the manager at the Methodist Thrift Shop for about 5 years, and I was a volunteer there for about 10 years before that. At the thrift shop, I have seen the excess of what we consume, what we throw away, what I try to send to recycling. I know I'm pretty sure I'm the only one in the county that has tried to get it sold. This is clothing, bedding, textiles. To try to get it to another company for recycling or third world countries. I've tried over the past. We've usually had to just do it. We have it in 30-gallon trash bags, and I have had to load those trucks, 30,000 pounds by hand. And I've been doing that for 15 years, and I need to find a simpler way, because also the recycling companies do not want to accept it that way anymore and need it baled. So I'm looking to start this, and in December I just decided, well, I can do this. This isn't part of the church. This is just something on my own that I thought I could work on and try to get this stuff baled and get it out of here to go to those different countries. So I am working on that grant. We sent out, just at our thrift shop alone, at the Methodist Thrift Shop, 90,000 pounds. That's what I shipped out by hand in black 30-gallon bags. So that isn't
In
included.
1 year?
Excuse me?
In 1 year?
Was that 1 year?
That's just 1 year, yeah. I mean, it depends on how fast our production is, whether I can get more out. But that is just stuff that we have already sorted, went through. This isn't including everything that's thrown away. So there's a lot more that's getting thrown away. I know, the different cities, are able to work with Salvation Army, Goodwill. All of them are their own little entities. But around here, we do not have any type of this recycling for this type of business, from Denver to Salt Lake to Phoenix down to the coast states of Texas. I've dealt with about 6 different companies trying to get this out at different times. So we are definitely in need of it, and I know the other thrift stores would like to work.
That's what my question was. Would you take it from them,
Like the
and
one
would you reach it?
Yeah.
Would you go clear to Durango?
I would love to. In the beginning here, I'm just starting out, just trying to solve a problem for our thrift shop. And it's a big major deal anymore, because all of us are volunteers that work at the thrift shop. There's only 2 paid that work there. So it is to get a volunteer, your volunteers are usually retired. And for all of us to load the truck, which my husband isn't too happy about loading that truck anymore either, I've just tried to find a simpler way to do this. But I'm hoping to, branch out into Durango. I know Durango, has more than we do, but I've been involved with, the Mankus has a thrift shop over there, and she has actually been getting my overflow. That is stuff that we're so overwhelmed with stuff that we don't even have time to sort it, that it's overflow. So it gets categorized, and I'm hoping to work with the landfill. I don't want to take anything away from anybody, but
How big of bales do they have?
1,000-pound bales.
Is that the maximum size they'll take, or is that?
No, it is different, categorized, and I'm learning as I'm going. So, I know as different textiles and how it's graded, it also has 500-pound totes that it goes into. So it has to be processed at a different rate. I do have a little warehouse already set up. I'm in the process of trying to buy a used baler right now just to get me by. So.
I was going to say, Shaq, you can't make, what size bales can you make in your baler? I know when you do your recyclables like plastic and stuff, would this be something feasible for you to do with Kelly, is to bale up her stuff?
So our bales run about 1,300 pounds. They're a little bit bigger bales. I think she's asking for a letter of support this morning, and I don't see any problem with that. If she gets her baler and is able to do that, that's fine. And if not, then we could
Possibly work something with it.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Like that.
Just so happened.
We have.
I just so happened. There's 2 copies there.
Okay. Are we in agreement to?
Yeah, where are you thinking about doing it at?
Excuse me?
You said warehouse. Where at?
I have 1919 South Broadway, just past Lots of Pasta, the little warehouse there, that ice house that Terry Branson had.
Mm-hmm.
I'm working with the guy in Durango renting it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it has a loading dock.
I would like to move that the Montezuma County Board of Commissioners issue a letter of support to the Four Corners Textile Recycling LLC, owned by Kelly Ayers here in Cortez.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to give a letter of support for the Four Corners Textile Recycling LLC, owned by Kelly Ayers and Cortez. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I don't.
You want both of them signed?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is a last minute thing, and I usually do, but Friday was Friday. I have 2 copies, so that we'll have one for Kim.
It gets longer. Man, I'll tell you what, you're getting.
I'm undercover.
Okay.
Okay, we'll close the public comment session and go to the road department. Rob?
Morning. Morning, Rob. How are you today? Doing good. How are you guys? Hey, okay. Moisture looks promising out there. You aren't blading any roads yet, are you? For snow? I mean, not for
No.
snow. Yeah. Yeah.
We got shut down in Mancos though. We were just busy enough in Mancos that the trucks couldn't run. And
Oh, yeah?
We were scheduled to come out of that pit today, of course, and so
Gotcha.
that got changed.
The highway out of Pleasantview was one slick road this
What
morning.
was it?
Better believe it.
I've got, mine's right here.
So yes, this morning we were supposed to be hauling gravel to Road P. Last week we finished up, to Road 32 and L, but last week we did finish Road P.
Did you?
Start with that, so that's done. We got all the way across there, got it all sealed up, and then of course this moisture is just what we were hoping.
You've had just what you need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's done.
It's nice.
Yeah, and it's gonna be a good deal for their chip sealing, to get some moisture on that and let it settle in. So, anyway, what they're working on this week is some driveway approaches across here. We had some elevation changes we gotta fix with some of those, or some are worse than others, so they're working on that today. We were scheduled to start rolling gravel out to, Road L, 32, and all the way up to 33 on Road P, but they couldn't get in and out of the pit this morning, so they're now hauling somewhere else, so. So anyway, we'll get back to that hopefully tomorrow and continue with that. It's several days of hauling. There's almost 5 miles of gravel road there. It'll all come out of Mancos Pit. So
Yeah.
That's gonna be well needed. I mean,
yeah,
it's
it's wore out. It's due, you betcha. So that's a good one to get. So we're hoping to get it back into that hopefully tomorrow or Wednesday.
plus that's where one of the parking lots is proposed, right, from the BLM?
Yeah, I think I read that. So
On that Phil's World expansion. Yep.
So,
It's gonna be probably a busier road. eventually.
well, we did 31 a couple of years ago now, so it's in pretty good shape. 32 we were behind on. It was time to get it done. There was just nothing there holding no more, so it was time to get started. And I probably could go this afternoon, but the trucks are already arranged down for a different place, so I'll just start hopefully tomorrow. So, no, I actually hope I'm plowing snow tomorrow.
You're gonna,
Yeah,
you're gonna
that's
have
what I
moisture
really
for
hope.
several days. Yeah, you're gonna have moisture for a few
We got
days.
time to haul gravel. I don't need this. But that is the plan if it doesn't snow. Mancos, they got some tree trimming to do over there. They're also blading some roads. They did Road 39 last week. They got some more to do this week if the weather holds up. Of course, this morning they are doing a little bit of snow removal and doing some maintenance. So they're working on that. Dolores had some roads they could blade last week with the moisture they had, but their biggest project will be Road 25, pulling the shoulders on that, which they've started on, and moving south towards Road T.5. So based on weather, depending on when they can do it, today they're not doing it obviously, but they'll try to work on it as the weather permits and be ready. Roundup, again, blading roads. Everybody got to blade roads last week. It was pretty good moisture there, so they got to get into that. They're doing a lot of tree trimming this week. They got 2 crews set up at the chipper and they're going down through various roads and trimming trees back. Road W in particular for this year's chip seal project. And Z is just kind of like a fill-in if they can get back to it, but I don't know. It's winter time, so that's not a priority to us. But that is still a fill-in for them to keep working on shaping that road. So the trucks, like I said, were hauling out of Hay Camp last week. This week they're hauling out of Mancos. This morning we switched them over to hauling chips and trading sand with Wimmanooch. So they're hauling out of Four Corners, and that's what that whole thing was for, to help trucking and help us get the chips. So we're able to do that today. So everything's safe and sound, and they're running up and down the highway. Crushing, he may not get started today, but we're going to try to get going today or tomorrow. Crushing chips. Right.
Ready to go in,
Right.
removed and everything.
Yep. So chips is the first thing on our mind, to crush some chips, and then switch back over to road base and make chips while we're making road base. So they're in good shape. Coughlin, I got signed up with them last week to do the grinding. They'll start, hopefully, we're thinking mid-March, maybe late March, kind of depending on the weather. Road W is where we'll go first, probably, and then we got this little section on Road L to grind, where we're going to raise the grade so we can do the paving. We got a little piece over at Mancos to grind and fix, and then we got Road 25 is 2.7 miles of grinding
To get up to
to get up
184.
to 184. So they estimated about 7 days of work. Some roads will maybe go a little longer because we don't know how much patch paving is on the roads. But if it's just typical chip seal, they move along pretty
They go
fast.
pretty
So
fast.
I think it's somewhere more like 10 days, but we'll see. So they're pretty good. Of course, we know that now after using them the last couple of years. It pays off. You know, so, yeah. So
Where was it, down McElmo, that they got it done so daggum quick that we were
yeah,
we were all
that was kind of rough. We're trying to avoid that one again. Yeah.
Have you heard if there's been very many people speeding on Road 25?
Did you get a ticket?
No, I didn't.
that is
Someone wanted
dirty.
to see
That
what
was
You?
that was plumb on. That was
Did,
plumb
did, I,
on.
did I not warn everybody about speeding on 25? Boy, yeah.
You are all unreal. You'll get him, Melissa, don't worry.
I paid my fee.
Yeah.
First time in 30 years.
Ouch. How fast was you going?
I
She
say-
won't answer that question.
Only me and the officer
None
know.
ya-
None your business.
None of my business, yeah.
I paid my fee.
Well, I'm sorry you got a ticket.
It's that new car, it's so fast.
Well, and that
It's
road's
pretty
so
zippy.
smooth, man. I mean, that road's like glass. I mean, that's a smooth road.
Well, speeding in our county roads is a problem all the way around.
Yeah.
I live on Road S, and I can't believe how fast they go down that road. And that's not even a very good road.
No,
so.
26 same way. I'll tell you, they can come
Some
across
are
them and come down
awfully
26, and I mean they're
Narrow
flying.
too,
Mhm.
you know, I mean, to
No
be
shoulders,
driving
the
like that.
shoulders are met, yeah.
Yeah, I'm really surprised we don't have more accidents out there the way they're driving. So I'm sorry you got a ticket.
No, you're not. It's all right. It's
But I
okay.
warned you. So.
It's all done.
Anyway, Coughlin signed up. So it puts about 5 miles of grinding this year to do. We did get good news from the Forest Service. They're going to commit $50,000 to the Dolores Norwood Road.
Oh,
That's a start. You know, that's like we said. We'll start in pieces. That pretty much pays for the additional trucks that I need. So that's good. You know, that's cash out of our pocket that they'll take care of. So we would like to get started on that earlier this year, but of course, if it snows, that's even better, and we'll wait a little while. One of the reasons is we need water out of Beaver. If we can get it, it makes it more easier for us to do the road. So we are trying to commit to doing this as early as possible. Get in there before everybody starts running it hard, and get that re-graveled and get that ready for next year's chip seal. But that is good news to us that we got that extra.
Good job,
money. So well, we're hoping for more. You know, they're working it.
And hopefully you and Pete can keep, you know, I think Pete's kind of on your side with that, isn't he?
Yeah,
Rob?
well, I think Pete supports me on about
much as
everything we can. Yeah, so
that's
Yeah.
always good to have him being a.
so we're just, you know, we got our Schedule A signed last week, and I don't know, how are you doing with the SAM? Did we get that all
I
moving?
haven't had a chance.
We got to get that in place, and then we'll submit that back for the record, and then we're good to go. So, but he did get that put in their deal, so that was good. So, one more thing, that I'm pretty much done. But I do have this to hand out. This was the actual cost or the bill to MVI for that culvert on Road W.
Oh, yeah.
If we choose to proceed with it, I wanted you guys to have a copy of that. It's a couple $100 more than what the estimate was, but it is still right at $13,648. That's materials, labor, flow fill, and equipment. So I know we're discussing issues with them. This is a bill that I have not sent yet. When you guys are ready to send it, I'll send it. I have all the backup.
You've done
to
this
it.
work though, have you not?
Work's complete. It's all done.
We sent them the estimate.
We sent them the estimate. Yeah. So.
We'll maybe take a copy with us tomorrow and discuss it at the board.
Again, I'd like to trade with them.
I understand, you know, but
If it works out in our favor to be active with them as a trade, I'm more willing. So, yeah. So,
As long as it's a fair trade.
as long as fair trade.
Yeah,
yes.
you weren't the unwilling partner in that deal,
No.
so.
No, and again, culverts is, we've discussed this over and over about what's maintenance and what's new construction, and so I think that if they're going to decide that they can't give us the water or let us pump, well, then we'll go back to the way the business is done, and that's this business as usual. You know, this is just business. That's all it is. So, anyway, I didn't have a lot to talk about today. No, so I'm done. Any questions?
I saw that DNL brought in a big grinder crusher down there in their yard.
I heard they were gonna start.
Man, that's, I mean, they've got it lined up their piles of concrete now, so are they gonna do pulverize, use that to
Crush it,
pulverize,
yeah,
crush it?
make
Yeah.
product out of it,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. It was a big outfit.
It's I think that's the same one that Wiminucci's that make us, I believe, yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. has a-
Gotcha.
Yeah. And
Pretty good
that's-
sized piece of machinery.
That's a good deal for the community. I mean, if you can take that and
Oh,
make
yeah,
something
and
productive
make
out of it
something
like
out.
Dave's doing, and
Isn't that what we used on the shoulders on Lebanon? Man, I'll tell you what, I think that's some good stuff.
yeah, no, it wasn't his stuff, but Four
No, but
Corners had
same,
something
but
similar.
same
Mhm.
similar
Mhm.
stuff, yeah.
And he's selling it. I mean, Dave crushes that down and he moves it back as a product, and it's
Mhm.
better than putting it in landfills. you know?
Sure,
So,
absolutely.
You know, it's a good deal. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm glad that he's able to do that. So,
I do too.
yeah.
That's good.
Rob, down there in Disappointment Valley, they've been doing some shoulder work, and they had the shoulder machine was fit on a skid steer. Have you ever seen one like that?
No, I haven't. No, keep talking. Did you take pictures of it?
Yeah, yeah, you have
No,
with
I-
the pictures.
I actually didn't. Boy, it was.
Well, I'd
handy.
like to
They-
see that. Yeah.
Yeah, I went on a track skid steer like you got,
Mhm.
and then they dumped right into it, and
Nope.
Just went down and it peeled it off and built the shoulder up on that.
yeah, it had a conveyor belt.
Really?
It kicked it out, and it looked like it was
Is that
pretty
San
efficient.
Miguel County or was that state, is that CDOT?
It was CDOT because it was
CDOT.
Highway
Oh,
141.
CDOT. Oh,
So it was on 141, gotcha.
I'll get hold of Rich and see what he's
Yeah,
doing.
see what he's doing, see what he's got going on.
But it was a box about as big as this table, and
So-
well, it's got to be wide enough, for the truck.
Mhm.
But and I was worried that it couldn't handle it, but it handled it.
I'll be damned.
So I don't know. It had latches, chain or something that would hook onto the back of it. I don't know
So
for
they-
sure exactly how it worked, but
Interesting.
But they were doing it and it was
oh yeah,
working.
they did it for miles.
Well, that's interesting. I don't even think Four Corners has anything like that. I'll talk to them too.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
And it looked, it was quick attach where they could take
Absolutely.
it off and
Yeah.
do different
Nice
things
and
with their
simple.
skid steer. And then I tell you, at the Cattlemen's, I had a couple people come and tell me how good of a job you're doing on the road department. So I thought I'd tell you that.
Just a couple.
Count them on
Two
one
hands.
hand. Yeah.
Well, they talked about
I'll take all I can get. So.
They said that some of the best roads we've had in years.
Well, thank you.
Yes, it is.
We do try. The whole department tries every day to make improvements. So thanks. We appreciate the compliment. So
Yeah.
You bet.
I'm done. I'm sorry.
Okay,
Yeah,
keep-
you
well,
guys-
keep going.
Some days I just don't have a lot to talk about. So, good.
Okay, Rob.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, man.
See you.
Okay, Mr. Torres, you're up next.
I'll probably be pretty quick too. Good morning, everyone.
Good
Happy
morning,
Valentine's Day.
Hi, how are you doing?
Well, thank you. You guys?
Good.
Let's see. My stuff. Let's see. That. That.
Should
we go-
clients this month, huh?
Yeah, we had 11 new clients.
Yeah.
I'd like to move that we approve the certification the veteran officers report for 2/1/2018.
Second?
Been moved and seconded to approve the County Veteran Service Officers Monthly Report and Certification of Pay for the month of January 2018. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you, commissioners, and we'll get that up to the state here today.
You bet.
A couple of things that we're going to go over is what our activity was for last month, and then we'll compare it to the previous year, January. And also, I brought you some revised numbers down below, and you'll see those in a second, as to what I reported at our last meeting for all of 2017. I've revised those up, so there's a little bit of good news there. But starting with last month, we had January of 2017, the previous year, we had 249. When you compare it, last month we had 217. It was a decrease of 32 visitors, if I did my math right, over the previous year. Again, I usually don't get too concerned about that. A lot of factors in that. Vacations, holidays, weather, some things I just can't control. However, of the 217 that came in last month, 11 were new.
That's good. That's
Yep.
a good number there.
We'll take them.
Yeah.
So we have a pretty active, marketing program through Facebook, the American Legion, VFW, DAV, and every client that wins a claim, they get a letter from me inviting them to share what our office did and our brochure with other veterans, and so we keep pulling them in somehow. So we'll keep doing that. Last month we did, 7 home / or nursing home visits and the assisted living facility. I just combined them all in one. So 7 visits out of the office. Outreach events, there was 4 of them. We did 22 claims. It was pretty high, actually.
That's a big month.
Yeah, we filed 22 claims.
14.
And 14 of, not of those 22, but 14 claims overall were granted. These are claims that we did last year. One thing I will say, though, and I briefed the commissioners earlier, the claims that we can do now, the majority of them, they go instantly to the VA. So it sounds like, oh my gosh, that's 22 claims. Well, yeah, but it's not difficult when you can just prepare everything electronically and then zap it right to the VA. Yeah, so I mean, there's an art to it. It's all computer-based programming and faxing stuff to the VA. So, but most of them get digitally submitted, and they have them within minutes. And then, I keep track of them.
So does that help your turnaround time on getting your claims
Yes,
awarded, Rick?
Yeah, it does. It does. What happens is, I'll give you an example. If I do a claim today and I zap it electronically, they'll have it within minutes. I can go in because I have access through their computer programs, and I can see that it was received. Probably within 4 or 5 days, somebody in the VA is actually looking at it, whereas before it would be about 3 to 4 weeks because it has to go to a digital intake center by fax or by mail, and then eventually an employee in the VA touches it. So what happens is if it's a disability claim, the rater or the person working the claim, they see that everything is there, and they can start asking for exams sooner. So yeah, I mean, your claim could actually, we're having ones that I submitted in December. They already were granted some in January, and that's some of these in here were from December of last year.
That's pretty fast.
Yeah, so they're pretty fast. The VAs, they've gotten a lot better. It's all about technology. So
They can't build a hospital, but they can.
no, they can't. Well, maybe robots can do that one day. I don't know. Take the human element out of it. Anyway, so I'm pretty happy with the numbers that overall for January being the weather, stuff like that. So let's see. Last month, those 14 individuals that won claims brought in $18,000, a little over $18,700 a month in new checks coming or direct deposit. Most of them are on direct deposit. If I did my math right, those 14 people, that 18 grand, that means those folks should be bringing in about $224,000 a year in new benefits. And those 14 people got $72,000. And actually, one of those people was about half of that. One person, yeah. One of them got like $36,000 or something like that.
Wow.
So yeah, I'd love to be that guy. Anyway.
He may have,
Yeah.
may have needed it, may have deserved it, may have needed it.
Yeah, and that was probably, if I remember correctly, it was a claim that they went as far back as paying the vet for late 2015. So there's a little trick to claims. If get denied, you keep it alive by reopening claims within a certain time period, and if eventually it's granted, they pay back to the very first day it was submitted. Yeah.
Rick, do you know the ramifications from the increase according to the budget bill that was just signed? And I know there was an increase for the veterans. Do you know any of the details?
As far as how it's going to affect the veterans?
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you this. I haven't looked at the budget that they passed. I think it was a 2-year budget, and I haven't gotten into the weeds of how that's going to affect the vets. But I do put on Facebook all the things that are going on and what's happened. Like, for example, in the last year, if anybody wants to go to our Facebook page, I put it on there. But it was an article from Florida. Some attorney's office, I think it was, did a newspaper article, or was it Small Business Administration? Somebody did an article of all the changes that happened in the VA in 2017. But I do tell vets this, and I'll let the commissioners know, the VA, no matter what anybody tells you, their funding is not going down. It always goes up. It doesn't matter who's in office. It doesn't matter what party's in office, it typically always goes up. So I'm never worried about, oh, the veterans are taking money from the veterans. They're not. Now, they may move the money around where it goes, and right now their focus is on healthcare. Yeah, VA healthcare is a big focus. So, but I mean, I can get into there and see, you know, what the budget for the Department of Veteran Affairs is going to be for the next years. I'd be shocked if they decrease the budget. Probably not going to happen. So in 2016, these numbers didn't change here. Indirect income to the county, that all stayed the same from what I reported to the commissioners last month. Those numbers stayed the same. But what I did report last month, these are the numbers I'm going to revise up. I said that our new monthly benefits was $130,000 a month, which should come up to about $1.5 million in new benefits. That's assuming everybody stays alive and doesn't move. And those folks got $818,000 in back pay. Well, what happens is when I reported that, not all the claims that were granted in December were in yet. I reported what I had, what I knew. So when you look, I revised these numbers up, and it looks like in 2017 we actually finished with $149,000 and some change per month. Actually, it comes out to almost $1.8 million in new benefits and over $750,000 in back pay. So yeah, and when you look at if you were to compare 2016, 17, and 18 monthly, we were at 106. Then I erroneously reported 130. It should have been 106 and 150 almost, 149. So that's a big, big increase in benefits. Again, you commissioners will always hear me say, it's not something I can control. I don't control what the VA is going to award. What we do control is how good or how crummy our claims are. So, and you know, we try to hone in on what we think we're going to win and not do claims on things that are frivolous, you know, because a lot of times the vets want to do stuff that is like, there's like no evidence that this is related to military. Why don't we focus on this, this, and this? This we can probably win. But yeah, I mean, so it's exciting. We love what we do. I mean, it's getting, I don't want to say tougher and tougher. Boy, but at the rate we're going, you know, one year I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say, well, this year we had a decrease and we dropped, we didn't win as many claims. But you know what? It's not happening. I think as long as we keep getting vets in, the commissioners, I know you guys advocate for vets, Melissa, the public, the newspaper, the community, everybody that comes in contact with a vet, tell them, go and find out if you're eligible for some benefit that you earned. If that happens, I can honestly predict that we will continue to see numbers like this. It's when the vets don't come out and come and see us, or they try to do it on their own, where we'll probably start to have a decrease in these types of numbers. But, you know, for a small community or a rural county or a rural community, you know, it's not
Bringing
bad.
him a client.
Yeah, send them our way. We love them. You know,
That's getting out
and I do get a lot. I do get a lot of clients from. I had a guy this morning. Well, actually, he emailed me Friday from Alaska. You know, because he's getting ready to be eligible for Medicare Part B. So the vet in Alaska is asking me. I helped him with his claim, by the way. I explained to him what happens. VA is not an insurance company, but if you don't take Medicare Part B, this is what happens. And so we're getting people from everywhere, but I always tell the commissioners our priority is our people, our tax-paying citizens, our vets are the priority, but we don't turn people away. We will not turn them away. We'll try to help them, and if we get to the point where I'm overwhelmed, then I'll make sure they get connected with a good service officer in their area. So, but yeah, I appreciate everybody's help, and that's how you guys.
A lot of people.
Well, that's how you guys can help the vets. Is you guys have been very supportive, and you're always making sure at least they look into whether they're eligible or not. That's the big deal. So
I like how you said that, benefits that you earn.
Yeah, they earn these benefits, you know.
That are coming to you.
Yeah, and I always tell these, guys, you know, these are the crumbs that the government, you know, passed into regulation, you know, for your service. So they're your crumbs. Why would you leave them on the table, you know? You know, you signed up for 4 years or 8 or 20, and this is what they give you. So why would you, like education benefits? Mm-hmm. Why would you leave those on? They expect you not to use them and leave that money on. They expect you not to go to school. You know. But we're gonna not make that happen. Let that happen.
You're gonna change that, you're gonna change
We're gonna
that
make sure they
attitude.
come get
There
their
you go.
benefits. Yeah, life is hard enough as it is.
Yeah.
Do the commissioners have any questions for me?
How
or-
long are you gonna let that beard grow?
I don't know. Maybe they'll ask me. I don't want to volunteer for anything. That's one of the things they taught me in the military. Don't volunteer for anything. But maybe they'll ask me to be like the Christmas. What is it? Santa Claus.
Well,
I'll be
I
Santa
was thinking
Claus.
it's ZZ Top.
Yeah.
I think he's working on Colonel Sanders. You know, if he'd get a little something done on top, he could go in for the colonel.
I could do that. I could do that.
What about the chicken?
I love magic cake.
Thanks,
All right,
Rick. Good
folks.
job.
Thank you so much,
Great
and
job.
all the best for the rest of the month.
Yeah.
Thank
care,
you,
everyone.
Rick.
Don't know what else to tell you, but thanks.
My pleasure.
Who's up?
I ended up only getting one, I have Sylvan Cemetery District, the Lebanon Cemetery District didn't get me anything.
Didn't get anything from Lebanon?
But I did get, a letter requesting Lori Olander from Sylvan Cemetery to,
Stay on the
re-up for
board?
another. They have limited possibilities out there because I
You're
think that cemetery is very small.
Oh, it is, and it's, and not that many, not much,
No.
a lot of activity at it either.
So,
I would like to move that the cemetery, Sylvan Cemetery Board appointment of Lori Olander for
a 6-year term.
a 6-year term be approved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to have Lori Olander continue in her position on the Sylvan Cemetery Board for 6 years. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And it was easy. In Lebanon, I don't know, they didn't get me any yet, so.
Haven't got any.
So when I get something, I'll let you know.
Okay.
Do they just have one opening or two?
I think they have one.
Okay.
I do have a couple of other simple things. Shane Hell wrote to me and they're having their annual cleanup from May 12th to May 18th. And the city has held our drop-off day on Saturday, May 12th. Writing to request that the BOCC consider waiving the tipping fees for that day. That's a normal.
Court
we've
does
done
clean
it.
up their annual cleanup day.
Yeah, and they say that most of the residents come from the county.
Sure that you've got tracking devices on them.
Yeah, sure.
Give me your address before you drop that off.
Right.
So,
Do we
So
need-
Is
he was
Shaq
re-
okay with it?
I actually haven't asked him. I'll ask him. I'll hold that.
Yep.
And the other thing is, as we're talking about our Board of Health, do you have a preference on where you want their agendas? Do you want their agendas also posted here and across the street and then at the public health?
Where do we
or-
post them right now?
I don't know what board, since it's new,
Don't think we've
They
ever
want-
posted them.
Board of Health, they want them in their office, but
Well, I mean, we post our agenda places.
our agenda is posted downstairs here and across the street in our office, and Kim has one in the,
In the clerk's
in the-
office.
well, it's in the vestibule
Vestibule
of that
coming into the
building
annex
over
room.
there.
And who does that?
Kim and I do it for ours, and so as the Board of Health
So
does their
is Bobby
agendas.
gonna do the Board of Health one?
Yeah, she's gonna do the Board of Health, but do you want those posted in all 3 locations, just for?
Do you think that makes sense? It seems
Might
like
as
it
well,
does.
I mean, people are used to
Yeah.
the same thing.
Okay.
Sounds
We
good
could
to me.
even, I don't know what the agendas are that much. We actually post it on the web too. We could have
Mhm.
hers. I'm sure that Jim can give her access to put it on the web
Sure.
also.
I'd say those 4 places would be plenty.
Okay.
Don't we have a Facebook page now or something like that?
I don't know that the county does.
Okay.
The sheriff does, the VA does, I think the fair board does.
The VA office does.
Melissa's county one, no,
No.
she doesn't.
Good place to
So.
stay away from.
That's all I've got.
Okay. See, the sheriff is here and we're early, but he doesn't go ahead.
We're ripping it out of here, aren't we? Morning, Sheriff.
How are you?
Good, how are you? You what?
It's been a long hours.
Hi.
I don't know what to tell you.
What have you been doing?
Working.
Fighting crime?
Yes, sir. Dealing with things.
Huh?
Constantly.
The
Does your
numbers
phone ring?
are up.
Does your phone ring? It's like 2:30, 3:30,
Mm-mm.
4 o'clock in the morning.
Not used to, not anymore.
Well, we can work on that.
It used to a whole bunch, so I got out of that. Tired of it.
It's all right. We're making progress, staying ahead of it.
Good.
Give you some numbers here for on the jail.
I have those
Is that your
somewhere.
confined, the prisoner confined? the
Yeah,
arrest
the
records?
inmates total daily and monthly, so you have an idea.
Your numbers are staying kind of down this year.
We
Staying
are.
in that 60 to a couple of days in the 80s, but most of them in the 60s and 70s.
You're welcome.
And,
Okay,
yeah.
these programs are working. And
Yeah. Now, what you think that is the
It is. It has-
retrial and that kind of stuff?
It
And
is
so-
actually starting to
Well,
turn its way around. The Celebrate Recovery Insight started last week, and that goes to help and assist the alcohol and drug recovery from the substance abuse
Mhm.
of these people. And what's nice about them that we haven't been able to connect on the outside after inmates are released from the education program as much as we'd like to. These people do. They have a place to go out to the church as soon as that they're released, and they stay with them.
Who's running that program, Steve? Who
There's
heads that
like
up?
6 of them out there at the church out by the
Oh, at
rest
Rock
area.
Springs?
Rock Springs.
Rock Springs is doing that.
And I'll tell you what, I'm really excited about solving some of these problems
Good.
that we've got. And the whole thing is to make these people, productive in our communities and quit coming into
And not
the
having
jail.
to end up
Okay.
with recidivism.
Yes,
yeah.
and it is working. It's working, and
Good.
I'm tickled to death with it.
So
We
they're
still-
coming into the jail, are they coming
Yep.
into the jail to
Yep.
work with
the
your
inmates there.
inmates and then have something to follow up after they're out with them
Exactly.
as well? Okay. Good.
Our space is limited, but we're doing the best that we can with what we got, and getting as many through there as we can. And these folks are completely volunteer, and so that's the nice thing about it too. They have made a real commitment to helping this community and the sheriff's office with this problem. So.
I was talking to some commissioners up there in Denver about this, and they had some numbers that was just opposite of ours, so it is working.
Yeah, it isn't. Here, we can. That's all I care about is a home.
Right,
All
right.
And,
Take care of your own nest.
That's right. But as you can see, you're also going to see numbers from the municipal prisoners as well. It's going to start going down. So your recovery fees for the $54.39 is going to come down because of what the law that went into effect January 1 with municipalities is that folks that are arrested under municipal charges can no longer stay in the jail any longer than 48 hours. There has to be a bond for them immediately, unless they're under the influence of alcohol or drugs. And then when they're sober, they have to be released on a personal recognizance bond. That's an order that was signed by the municipal judge in Cortez, Dolores, and Mancos that went into effect. The ACLU brought that about last year, and our state legislators, and that bill was passed and that law went into effect.
So no matter what they're charged with?
Doesn't
or-
matter.
Doesn't matter?
It doesn't affect those that are serving sentences,
Yeah.
those that are arrested on municipal charges. So,
Is that statewide?
same thing statewide.
Doesn't
And the same
affect,
thing is gonna be on warrants and whatnot.
doesn't affect felony charges, right?
What's that?
It does.
it's
Excuse me.
Felony? No, there's no felony municipal charges. Those are all misdemeanors. And that was, the thing that was apparently brought up is that municipal prisoners were being housed and could be in there for weeks without, on a municipal misdemeanor. It is what it is.
What are examples of that?
Oh, you're intoxicated,
Drinking in public,
pedestrians, your disturbances, disorderlies, shoplifting, thefts, and things like that.
Speeding?
Well, we don't arrest on speeding. Well, I don't know. We don't arrest on speeding. That was really mean. Okay? I'm going to stick that for you because I'll tell you, there isn't anybody in this room that hasn't
Gone 50
been
miles
speeding.
an hour down
Okay.
the road.
All right.
Well,
Drive's nice.
All
She's gotta
right.
be
You
the
just didn't
most-
get caught.
Right.
Okay? All right. So
She-
the thing is that
She's probably the most honest person I've
course.
ever met, and it's so
but we
hard.
all do, and
You took care of it.
that is a problem that is occurring, and we've talked about this before. We're improving these roads, and I'll tell you what, our traffic problems go up. My phone is ringing all the time about the traffic problems that we have.
Mostly speed.
Most of it is speed and the recklessness of our drivers on the road today. Our population is not going to increase for our licensed drivers. It's increasing all the time. And I'll tell you, it is going to be a problem. And we're doing everything that we can to help reduce that. Education, the radar trailers that are out and in effect, it works for a while, and you have to just keep them moving. But I don't know if it has a direct effect on the reduction of serious injury or fatality crashes. That's the problem, and that's what we're going to end up with, and we do. We've had more traffic deaths last year than we had before, and I don't see that that's going to drop. But our driving under the influence and impaired drivers is increasing. We're arresting more. We're finding more. We do have a drug recognition expert deputy that I told you about that I sent to school and training over a year and a half ago. He's completely certified now, the only one in the area. So that is going to hopefully help with the drug and driving problem that we have.
So that would be marijuana and
Marijuana,
opioids?
heroin, meth, it doesn't matter.
So when there's a suspect, then he's called to
Yes.
to the scene, or
Exactly. If just from the standard field sobriety maneuvers that are done, the officers are being trained in how to detect and differentiate between alcohol and drugs, and so that is helping. And so when there are drugs involved, that's where this person will come in to help and can testify as an expert witness. So to those testings and that ability. So those are going up. Our DUI arrests are increasing. Just understand and trying to put the word out to everybody that you're going to encounter them. They're out there all the time, every day. So we'll do the best we can with what we got going. So I don't know if there's any others. I mean, you've got them there, the figures and whatnot.
Steve, on a whole for the town of Dolores, you're showing their rate at $50 a day rather than the $54.39. Why would they get a break?
They don't. It's $54.39.
Okay, just on my sheet it says $50 and $50 per day each.
Oh, that's a typo.
Okay.
They're not getting a break.
All right.
That didn't get
well,
changed.
probably they haven't had.
We don't have any arrests out of Memphis or
Yeah,
Dolores.
you're not
So,
not real busy over
No,
there.
and again, most of those
Yeah.
are all state charges that come out of those municipalities.
And
So-
then I had one other question. Down here at the bottom of you're showing your daily rates and everything, and it says amount not reimbursed to the Montezuma County Sheriff's Office
Right.
has an asterisk by it.
Right.
So I looked at all of those and I didn't find anything that had an asterisk.
I know, I
by
didn't
it.
either, and what that is that those are those state charges that there is no reimbursements on.
So there's some of them that you
Yeah,
don't
we don't
get
get
any-
reimbursed. I mean, we're all paying the cost of that.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
some of them you're just stuck with
Yeah,
taking
we
care
are.
of out of your own
We are.
budget, out of your own dollars.
Yeah, we are.
What
Your
type of deal?
DUIs, your felony arrests, things like that.
Really,
You
there's
got-
no reimbursement from
No,
anybody on that?
no. These are state charges, state law charges that
Yeah.
whether it comes from any peace officer or the sheriff's office, there's no reimbursements. It's not a municipal charge. It's a state charge.
So when they're in when they're in your jail or your holding facility on those charges, then you get no way to.
No. So you can see where
That didn't
the
play
crime,
so
well, it's the way that it is, and it's been that
State,
way.
I know, state just
The
doesn't
thing
treat
is
us
that
right.
we have the jail. The
You know, we
thing
give
is,
them a
is that-
court, we're giving them the jail, we're giving them everything.
Well, when you have people that are out here in our community that are committing crimes, and that's why we go after those serious crimes as much as we can to try and prevent and reduce them. But because that's where our cost is coming from, is the arrest of those people.
Mhm.
All right. You know, your drug dealers, your DUIs, they're the same way. It's a state charge. It's not a county charge.
These are our local
These are-
officers, though.
Yes, that are doing it. Yes.
Enforcing.
Understood,
Yeah.
understood, but when they bring them down, book them into the jail and put them, hold them until they're either bonded out or sobered up or whatever, we get no payment for them, from the state or,
No.
it's on you.
No, it's on all of us.
It's on us.
It's
Yeah.
on
It's
all of
on
us.
Gayla. It's all on Gayla now. Thank you, Gayla.
Thanks, Galen.
We're trying to raise Gayla's taxes to
I
fix
said
it.
the same
That's why your
thing.
taxes went up, Galen.
But that's why reducing those numbers is so
It is
important.
important. I got
Okay?
it. Okay.
And that's why I've spent so much time and made so much effort in trying to keep that down. But crimes
Well,
are
I'll tell
gonna
you on
happen.
your next report, I'd like to see how many of those you have in your jail that you're not getting reimbursed for.
Okay.
See, just to get an idea of how much some of that's costing you.
You have a guess of what the percentage would be?
Let's see, if you subtract the Dolores County, the municipal of 133 from the 2,300, that's what it's going to be. That's on a daily basis. How many are in there every day? So,
Back to this one.
yeah. I lost
But
you.
that doesn't tell you the DUIs and
No.
and that sort of thing, that
No.
you're holding people
Right
in
there.
your jail that you're not being reimbursed for.
And those are anywhere from your felony crimes to your higher misdemeanors, misdemeanor 1, lower class felonies, and serious felony crimes. Yep.
Well, that's good to see your numbers staying down in there. I mean, that's.
Well, I mean, and the thing is that we've got two pretrial deputies that are handling over 300 pretrial people.
Yeah.
Okay, if we didn't have that program,
That
you'd be seeing them right here.
Yeah,
Okay,
no, I hear you.
and it's like, what do you
glad
do?
that-
All right, when a judge sentences somebody to jail, there's not much I do about it.
No,
Okay,
you
other
can't
than
change that.
You're coming. Okay, and that's pretty much the way that it is. However, I was contacted. In fact, all of the county sheriffs were contacted that have jail facilities by the Department of Corrections about a Sure and Swift program that they're trying to institute, where they wanted to wanted us to allocate up to 5 beds for the Sure and Swift program, which means that they're removing DOC inmates out of the medium facilities and putting them into these county jails that sign up and agree for this program. I denied it. So
And you,
can read it.
especially when they're not paying you what it costs you to run your jail
That's right.
each day. If they get that up to that, what was it, 108?
108.
They're trying to propose that 108.
I hope.
What does
Yeah,
the program do? I mean, you just house them in the
You
jail?
house them. Yeah.
Will they pay?
We already have people on DOC waiting for beds, as well as the parole holds. So all you're getting
full.
is
Yeah,
the
you're not-
$54.
Yeah, but we don't have all the programs that DOC is supposed to have to try to rehabilitate the people while they're in there before
No.
they transition
I know.
out. It doesn't make
It's
a lot of
just
sense.
another way to show that the state is, everybody's trying to reduce their costs.
Mm-hmm.
We all are.
And the more they
Okay.
shove on
The
you,
state's doing
the
the same thing, okay? We're not getting treated the way that we should with the state prisoners as it is now. We're not getting
Mhm.
what our costs are. If we could break even, it would be better.
No.
It really would be, but it's not happening. And I'm hoping that, I know that they'll be revisiting this again. It's another issue that's been brought up that last year, and so I'm hoping that maybe we'll see some movement and increase. I don't know. I just don't know.
And I
And that's
don't blame
something
you
that
for
none of us
denying
have
it. I
any
mean,
control
I
over.
don't blame you a bit for not wanting to do that.
So,
Yeah.
the other thing is that the courtroom security has never been funded fully the way that it should have been. From every single year, and you've all seen them, okay? The grants that go in and the request for that. In talking to the sheriff's representative on that board, they're not getting any additional funding from the state being diverted to courtroom security grants that would actually cover these costs. We're not, and we're not alone.
Then stop providing what they're not paying you for.
Okay, and
Just
that's
start
the case.
reducing it.
Well, then that'll have to come from the judge. If he doesn't want us to do it,
The judge
then
isn't
by
paying
then-
for it.
I understand that, but the judge by law is the one that has appointed the sheriff for security. So that's the way that I read that law.
I think that we decide what the security is. We are in charge of transporting prisoners and providing security. But I think the cost of that will probably exponentially raise without any change in the law in the last 10 or 15 years. We used to walk right into work
without any of it.
If they want more services, I agree. I think they should pay for it. They should
Absolutely.
fund it. Maybe you could talk to Eric Hogue if if they start complaining, be like, get us more money.
Yeah, yeah.
But if they're giving us, what do they give us, $100,000 a year or something like that? I don't remember.
It's about that.
Yeah. then we should-
95.
Covers.
That's
My
what we
feeling
provide.
is that's what we should
That's
provide.
what we
is
provide.
$100,000 a year worth of
Well, just
Exactly.
let you know,
Exactly.
I've already talked with Eric a lot about this. They all know, okay?
Okay.
And it's not being diverted in any way. The thing is that we need to have more funding. And we've put in an additional request to cover those costs for those two that they paid for. And unfortunately, I'm the one that's responsible for the transports and that. And so transporting from the jail, that's
Yeah,
what
so
I
it makes
reduced.
that. We've gotta do that.
I reduced that because of the video arraignments that go on now. Thank God, okay? That has saved us a lot of money. It really has.
It's probably a lot of hassle.
Yeah, and it does. It makes it safer, too.
Good. That's good.
It really does. And so that was one thing that I really pushed with this new facility is to have that. And it's working. It
Okay.
is really working. So
So
it's
we
going to
do the same thing with court security. You provide what they pay for and no more.
And we've matched that, and I've told you from the get-go that the 4 are oftentimes not enough. Sometimes it is, but the problem is trying to maintain those levels with what we have. During those times when you have 4 courtrooms that are going on, you've got 2 that are constantly busy, and sometimes 3.
Have you
and the
seen
things that
4
we've done.
going at once?
Yeah, we have. The jury trials are another thing that are real lengthy and draw a lot of people. With some of the serious crimes that will be coming up for trials and whatnot, you'll see an increase of the public there, which is what it should be. I want more people to get involved with what's going on in our judicial system. That's the only way we can get things fixed. And so we're addressing these issues. I know that there is a bill that is going to be introduced into the state legislature to increase that courtroom security funding. I don't know if it's always been killed before it ever gets anywhere for whatever reason.
So is
You
the
know,
one that says the state's gonna help us pay for the
Exactly.
courthouses too. It always dies before it gets
So,
anywhere.
whatever the case may be, I'm looking at maybe exploring the opportunity to get the city of Cortez involved with some of the security. I got to do something. I got to try something different. I'm always about doing things different.
I'm gonna tell you.
So
I'm gonna tell
I
you,
don't know, we can try.
I'm with our attorney here. If they provide you $100,000 a year for your court security, that's exactly what they would get.
Yeah.
And you would determine where and when that
Well,
happened, and when you didn't, when that money or those proceeds were gone, then you walk back and say, gee, Eric, we're
The
done.
important law here
We're
is
done.
that there's Colorado can't have
Right, and they keep doing that, they
And they
keep
keep
shoving
doing
them down.
Yeah, they do.
They keep shoving them down, and
You know, even
So-
on the law enforcement side, though, understand, I'm faced with unfunded mandates of our requirements just to maintain our training and certifications. And I'll tell you what, it is creative financing at its best, let me tell you. And we've been very successful in getting reimbursements for a lot of that training. And I hope that it will continue, which is why I'm on the post board. I want to make sure that that funding stays there and becomes more readily available, especially to the rural counties. We don't get what the East Slope gets.
sure,
Okay, never have,
never will.
and well,
And never
that's
will.
got to change.
Well,
Okay,
you know, Steve,
it doesn't
Steve,
matter.
when you've got 86% of the population,
understand
saying you're
But you know
wishing
what?
beyond wish,
If
buddy.
we don't have a voice there,
Yeah.
that's the thing.
That's true.
That
And
is
your
the
voice,
thing.
I understand that,
You
to be
know,
there and to speak,
we have
but
got to
when
make
push
it
comes
happen.
to shove, you and I both know how that's gonna go.
Yeah, well,
It's the way it's gone
I
forever.
know. Baby steps.
Yeah.
It's working. We are getting something.
But
better
if the
than
state
nothing.
is pushing down those requirements
Yep.
on you and saying you have to meet these certifications and you have to meet
Yep.
these requirements,
Yep.
then that's when you need to say,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do them unless you send me
Yeah.
down the money to make it happen.
And the thing is that if we're not in compliance at the end of every year for every single one of our officers meeting those training requirements, we get no funding, and those officers are decertified. Now that is going to affect our public service in the community, and that's why I hold it at such a high regard, though. I know that. And the thing is that I think if all of us speak with one voice, it helps. It really does. And they are starting to pay attention, Keenan. They really are. Can't tell you that it's always going to be that way, because I know. That is a circus up there. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they may
Okay?
pay
It
attention,
really
but they're
is.
not sending you any money, are they?
Yeah, well, yeah, they are. Some, not all of it. Not all of it. Okay?
Yeah.
But it's better than sticking your nose at them, because I'll tell you what, we are getting some money. And that's what we want, is to get that funded.
Are you having to get it through grants or?
Nope, nope, it's actually coming out of the Department of Law through the post funding. So that's helping. It really is. And they've really stepped up. So I gotta say that we're probably one of the most fortunate ones that are getting that reimbursement because of the way that we're doing it. And it seems to help. So I just hope that it will continue to get better. It's completely different than the courtroom security grants. Those are different. And you'll be presented with another grant that we're trying to go after on a JAG grant to help with some of that funding and personnel costs. So all we can do is try. We can ask and keep trying. Sometimes we get it. Sometimes we don't. The JAG grant has been held up because of the federal funding from the Department of Justice that started last winter, late winter or early winter, like November and December. That there's a lawsuit in Chicago that, because this is affecting every sheriff's office and some police departments across the country, that it's all over the sanctuary city stuff, that they don't want to release any of this money until they make sure that we're all in compliance with federal law. Mm-hmm. Well, we are, okay? But it's holding up that funding for everybody. And so I understand that, and at 1 o'clock today, we're supposed to have a conference call with the folks with the that's in charge of the federal funding. So we'll see it looks like there's movement that it's going to get cleared up. I hope it's real soon. Again, when you're talking about money and grants, this is what you deal with.
Yeah, how much is that JAG grant? I see that's on our 11. We do this every
Yeah.
year.
It would be
100,000.
for two. I think it's 100,000. Yeah, and it pays for everything. Their salaries and their fringe uniforms, the whole bit. It pays for all of it. And, you know, all you can do is ask for that, because I see that the state funding for courtroom security is going to start to dwindle. I really do. It's going to dwindle. I can just see it coming. If they're not going to keep funding it, then why have it? So, okay. And so that may be exactly what happens. Okay. It goes away. So, but anyway.
Is this the one that we did just get? Is that 123?
No, this is the gaming impact funds.
Oh, okay.
And I'm still waiting to make sure that the money gets here
Okay.
before I can expend anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
So,
different.
you know, I'm waiting for that funding to hit the bank before there's ever any spending out of it. That's the thing. I don't spend money that we don't have in the bank. So it's just the way that it is.
Neither do we.
We
That's
did
kind of hard to
have
do.
Yeah.
another topic. There was a
Okay, your traffic.
citizen,
Speed.
Yeah.
Here we go.
road-
Speeds again. Yep.
speed limit change on, it was a request from a citizen on Highway 184 from Memphis to Dolores. And I don't know if that was a specific section or the whole one. I
I
can't
think she's
remember.
talking about the whole highway. It's 65 miles an hour now. It should be reduced to at least 55. But it's not our road.
Yeah,
It's
it's
a
CDOT's.
state highway.
Yeah.
But we put in requests and recommendations, just like I have with Highway 16491 south of County Road G, past Belt Salvage, because Kelly Belt has really been asking for help in reducing that speed there. There's been several accidents there and a lot of near misses, and it's affecting those businesses that are down there. And so I have talked to the engineer a couple of times. They were supposed to, of course, everybody's got to do a study. Okay, Christ Almighty, we're studied to death, but there's really no reason why they can't, you know, look at some of these things and reduce it. And I'm all for it. And that's what I told the both people, is that I'm supportive.
But where would it go? Where would it exactly, from the Belt Salvage, or, I mean, where at?
What are they
From
asking
County
about?
Road G south to about probably about 2 miles, mile and a half.
Keep it what, to 45 or
45.
45? Because it is 55, isn't
Yeah,
it? now?
so reduce it.
What-
That would
who-
help.
Who feels that 65 miles an hour on 184 is excessive?
The residents that have the driveway access
That have
in
to
there.
come on it from
Yeah.
off their
It's
private
it's not
property.
as straight a highway as 160 and 491 are, and you all know.
No, they're
okay?
curves
And I'll tell you what, yeah, and
Have we
it's-
been asked to vote on this? Or
I don't
what?
think so. I think
No,
that
it's just-
probably just to bring it to your
Attention
attention,
that
and
there's-
that may be when if CDOT approaches you, you know, that we've talked about this. I have a lot of citizens that have asked about that. We don't have any control over it. We don't. But we can certainly bring it to their attention that it is a traffic problem.
I'll certainly bring it to the next DPR meeting
Would you
as well,
please?
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
You know, and I called some citizens about, I thought this might be about reducing speed, and Melissa said, no way.
Golly, that's mean, man. That's really bad.
Riding that like a rented
I am
mule.
so
I tell
sorry.
you.
I really am. It's just not right.
No, me personally, I did call some citizens on Highway 184. Actually, 2 of them were nurses, and they did not want the speed
Yeah.
reduced. They
Well,
said
it's
they
because
work
they're
at
always late to
Mercy.
work.
Anyway,
Yeah.
it was to go for a vote. I would have to be a no.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
CDOT explained at one of the meetings we were at that they set the speed limit based on how fast people usually drive.
Kind of on the average
They told you that, huh?
That's
Well,
right.
why are
That's right.
highways 75 and better?
Why aren't we 70 now?
But that's the reason they said they raised the speed limit going through Memphis from 40 to 45. That was their
I don't
explanation.
know. You know, the municipalities there have a bigger say because it
they
affects them. Yeah.
CDOT said they were the ones that did that one over there.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
I also want to talk to CDOT about who patched 160 out here on the west side, east side of town. That's the worst pass job I've ever seen in my life. That's a ruckus and dead mess, I tell you.
Well, you
I don't know
can't
how
speed
they-
through that.
No,
or
that's
you're
a,
gonna-
that's a
you're
good.
gonna turn over.
One of the
Can't
complaints
believe
that I
that.
had was, and it's a valid complaint, was is that they didn't know what from belt salvage to if it was going to be reduced at the other side of the stoplight coming into town, because one of the main arguments was is semis. They need gain that speed to climb that hill.
That 50, so they've got 50,
I think it's 55, isn't
55
it?
coming into town, yeah. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But I understand that below that traffic light, because there's the bed
So
and
much.
breakfast, there's the
So
Cheryl Dean's business, there's Redburn Tire, there's a bunch of
Fraley's,
there's a
Palm
bunch of
Springs.
people
There
moving
is.
in and off of that highway more so than maybe the one coming. I can see that 55 coming up the hill because there's not much.
But you're coming into a 40 though on South Broadway.
Yeah, you are. You're coming
So,
instead of going into
yeah.
a 65.
But anyway, you know,
Yeah.
it is what it
I've
is.
seen
I'm a
that
traffic
signal, not
engineer.
Yeah.
Also to let you know that every one of our members of the Sheriff's Office have been enrolled into the Institute for Credible Leadership Development through the national college that was set up through the Colorado Sheriff's Association and the National Sheriff's Association. So every one of them are taking advantage of this, and that's really neat to see that leadership development and the courses that are all there. It's pretty exciting. So
Good for them.
Okay.
That's good.
Yep.
Good building stuff.
Got a couple of questions. Don't amount to anything, but
no, sure.
curious, do you have a medical insurance policy for inmates?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a catastrophic insurance policy that is covered. We don't have, most of them that have Medicaid, we make sure that they have Medicaid when they leave though. But the thing is that what the biggest thing is the prescriptions and those meds for inmates that are there. And we have been working out, actually at a reduced cost with Safeway Pharmacy now that it is helping, because we lost our physician and that care provider couldn't afford all that. I mean, it was too much.
Are you going to be able to replace that with telemed?
Well, Telemed wants to, but I'll tell you what, it's too much
They
money.
want money.
It's too much money. I can't afford it. I don't have the budget for it, so I just don't.
Yeah.
And yeah, I wish we did. I wish we could. We have everything there that could make it work, but the cost of it is just too much.
Why is the cost of telemed? We're talking about like having a video doctor. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah,
It sounds like
you gotta
it
have
would
a
be
doctor
cheaper
on
than
board to
having
do it, and you have to pay for it.
Right, but I mean, only for when we need a doctor anyway, right? I mean, because we have to provide medical care there.
Yeah, medical care is provided on a daily basis. If we need a doctor, we've been using urgent care to take them to during the hours of operation there, which saves the cost of taking them
That's
to
better
Southwest.
than telemed, then
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so it's working right now, and so if we keep our numbers down, it's a lot better. But they're not the healthiest folks. Okay, so I just want you to know they're not.
Like, what does those
It's an
screens
expense.
cost? Because you have the screen, the capability in the jail.
Yeah.
What would it cost to put one in an urgent care where they never even left?
Your doctor over there can look at them. Can they do
Is
it
that,
that
I don't know
way,
what they
see?
cost.
Yeah, and again, we'd have to check with IT to see if, because it would have to be run on a separate
Oh yeah, for
a separate
security.
CAT cable and whatnot.
So it would be kind of like what you have with the arraignments or whatever,
Right,
video
yeah,
arraignment,
yeah,
it would be
yeah,
the same
yeah.
size sort of
See,
thing.
we're pretty much out of space over there now, and that's where if we could make it to where we could put it in at no cost, that would be the best. But these doctors don't work for free,
Right.
you know, and you know we all know that. And I've looked at so many of these jail inmate medical programs, I don't know how some do it. I really don't. It's just too expensive. It just really is. And so I was really in a panic when we lost our position and the physician's assistants that we'd had. We just couldn't pay enough.
Did they retire, or where did
No,
they
we
go?
just couldn't pay enough. They got better pay other places. So when you can't pay for it, they go away. And so working out a deal with some of the urgent cares have really helped, and we've had very, very limited transports to there, and that saves, because taking them to the ER, unless it's a real emergency, it's just crazy.
Well, you have exam rooms. When we toured the jail, you have an exam
We have a
room
nurse
and
on staff
and
that does a
nurse
lot
on
of
staff
that.
and all of that,
Yep.
so that
Yep.
so you
And that-
do have
that helps.
You couldn't make that a telemed facility.
Could,
if
if we had the, if we had a doctor that would actually do
Have
that.
you talked to Southwest about doing that with their where they have their hospitalists come in and have some kind of a hookup with them? Where you could use their doctors. I mean, you have to pay them.
We
I
did.
understand that, but
And I'll tell you right now, this was a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, when this started to go away. I went to them, and we could not get a doctor over there that would sign up.
even to do telemed or any of that.
Wow, it's so close, you could run a
They're
line.
they're hired by the hospital. Could the hospital tell them, say, hey, you know what, you're our employee, maybe you ought to.
I've talked to Kent Rogers about it. I don't know.
And he
I
doesn't,
don't. And
he
it's
doesn't.
like, we're not getting any, we're still having problems transporting the detox from them. And that's not a law enforcement function.
Mhm.
That is a medical problem. And we still haven't been able to come up with how that should be done, because we want to get out of it. Both myself and Roy Lane, we want to get out of that transporting. They have the means to do that. We're making progress with Access Mental Health on those transports, but I'll tell you, it's a problem. We got all of this coming in now. All of the mental health issues, the medical issues, the intoxication issues, and it's something that we deal with every day.
Access,
And that's the bad part about it.
Access is getting money to do this thing, aren't they?
Yeah, sure are, aren't they?
It's kind of like Eagle Neck
From our
got money to
social
do
services.
fiber.
Sure are, aren't they? They supposedly have vans and trained people. Why aren't they doing the transports? Because every time we call, they're not available.
They're too busy.
So I don't know if we still fund them.
I don't think we do, but.
I don't think you do. No, we did, because of that. And that was the thing, you were paying money for a bed over there
Yeah.
that we would never been able to get.
Yeah.
We've never been able to get. And these are issues that we're working through. And it has gotten, the communication has gotten a lot better. And so I'm very hopeful that it will continue and we will get the needs here that we need to have. But we need to have facilities here, not in Durango.
Mhm.
They need to be here. And I'll tell you, that would be the best thing. And laws have changed where they're supposed to have those capabilities here, even the hospital. So the thing is pushing them toward that to make it happen.
But who can afford it?
Well, I know.
There's a lot of cost
I know,
involved in that.
there is, but you know what? They're getting funding.
No, that's true. No, I'm not standing up for
That's
them.
what I was
Steve.
thinking,
Yeah.
that they are getting funding to do this.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. You know, when I get funding to do something, I have to do it.
You're
And we do
mandated
it.
to do it.
Okay? And that's just the way that it should be. Okay? I've burnt you up enough of your
Are
time.
you gonna give him the results of the?
Kim's got some
Yeah.
election
I wanted to
results.
talk to you guys about this. So, I guess we need to do some sort of a certificate of the election that we provided. I just want to let you guys know that we had 165 county employees vote, which we've already kind of talked about. Our vote was yes 93, no 72, and each person who came into the office was required to show us an identification. We had them sign in a sign-in sheet. We gave them a ballot, and then they voted it in the voting booth and dropped it in the box. I don't know if you guys have any questions on it.
But I have a copy of this for you guys, a copy for Melissa, and then there'll be a copy for the minutes. Okay?
So that's, I don't know, that was only 56% is what
That's correct.
I just got.
I think you were required to have 65% to get it to pass.
So,
But was there also an acquire, so many employees had to vote to reach a threshold?
we
Is that
just
right?
needed,
I believe it was 65% of the people that voted.
vote.
did the sheriff's department vote, or they?
They
Yes.
did?
We only had, our list started with 174, and we found 2 people that were qualified, that we added, you know, that they did give, so it was 176 and 165 voted.
So we had 90%, 90-some% of the,
That was good participation.
that's
but-
unbelievable participation.
So I was going to talk to you guys later today about the letter we got from the FPPA attorney on rescinding the resolution until they backed off threatening to sue us.
Mm-hmm.
This, I don't know how important that is at this point. But maybe next week we do another resolution that says that the vote failed and we're rescinding it for independent reasons as well. Because I mean, I didn't love the fact that, I mean, I voted for this because I think that the sheriff's department should be able to choose what retirement program they want to have if they're eligible for that. But what I didn't like the situation that we were getting into is having competing attorneys threatening litigation against us that we don't need. So I'll do a resolution rescinding, or just clarifying that, one, we didn't get the 65%, which is what Cora was requiring us to get, which is what our agreement was with Cora. And two, that we're going to put in there that we're also rescinding it for other reasons as well as that, just to kind of make us more, I think, protected from these attorneys that were threatening to sue us anyway. I mean, I think one lesson learned from this is if we ever have the opportunity to renegotiate anything with Cora, and I don't know that we will anytime in the near future, but I don't like that Cora requires, you know, when we signed up for Cora, whenever it was, you know, they put all these,
1978, I
they
think.
put, and well, but I've seen things since like 2004 and whatnot that we also signed on the dotted line, that they put these requirements on us. So if we are ever in the position to renegotiate that and
Not have those
not
restrictions,
have
all the
restrictions on
in
us
there.
like that. I mean, this
I
was
agree.
absurd. You know what this cost the county
Exactly.
to do
Yeah.
as far as
Exactly.
employee time, all this. You know, I mean, my opinion,
Well-
which doesn't matter, is this should be a sheriff's department decision.
Yes.
But it's not, because of our agreement with Cora,
Right.
we've got to protect our county employees.
Right.
So
And
if we're
it
ever in a
makes-
position to
and it makes
renegotiate it,
contention between different departments within the
It
county.
does,
I mean,
and
it's
that's
now
what I
we've got
don't
this
want.
rub of,
Has no
misunderstood.
yeah,
participation.
it's just,
It was not his intention.
yeah.
And I'm really disappointed but the thing is that Cora kept pulling all of this stuff up, and it was just, to me, it was just not right. It had no effect on anybody else. And so I would hope that it would be, you would review with Cora sooner rather than later.
I don't know what kind of leverage we have, though.
You know, you have a lot. You really do, John, and all of you do. You have a lot. You know, I go back to after I was elected that you met me out in the hall, Mary Dawn, and you told me that improving the employee benefits would be more difficult than what I thought. Okay, and you know how true, but how sad is that? That you're given an opportunity to do the best for those that serve, and we can't even get to first base because of things changing constantly behind us. We all learned a lot, and I'm sorry that any of this has caused. It was never supposed to be that way.
No, it wasn't. And
You know,
so there's multiple counties that are.
Yes, they are.
They're tackling the same
Yep,
issue.
they are, and so,
My assumption is they have the same agreements with Cora, but we don't know
Well,
that.
if they're with Cora, you would think they would have the same exact agreements that we
not
have with Cora.
necessarily, because I think they changed things, and that, you know, the problem is that they're, Montezuma County was leading the way with this, and there's already 13, in fact more, sheriff's offices that are moving forward with this, so who knows, maybe it can change.
I think what Steve and I wanted to do too is kind of review how we did it, what we think would work better, you know.
Share this with them.
And I think, and I don't know if this is a legal thing to do or not, and I don't know if I told you this, but if there were some, I think the people who were potentially within 5 years of retirement,
That didn't want the FPPA.
that didn't want the FPPA. And I don't know if you could write a clause to say grandfather them out with something that says, I will retire, I plan to retire in the next 5 years, you know, so that it gives, you know, but
We're never going to please everybody. I mean, I
That's
think
just
our
it.
biggest roadblock is our agreement with Cora. I think that if that could be renegotiated, I don't know that it can. I don't like that they put those restrictions on,
Yep.
you know, part of our county.
Well, I agree.
With these 13, they're moving forward. If something happens, positive, that might change.
Might help
you
us
know, that might give us leverage, but we
reconsider
don't
this,
have
or
it now.
maybe Cora may see that they're faced with a whole
Well,
lot of.
they're already doing, they're looking,
Yeah.
that's the reason why
Well,
they were fighting this so hard.
right.
What we don't need, though, I mean, I also have beef
We do not
with
need
the
a lawsuit.
FPPA, with
Oh,
both of these
there's,
attorneys.
you know, that, I didn't
No.
see it that way, and that's not what it's going to be.
Well, they were very
The problem is
threatening in
going
the
to be
letter.
the problem is going to be with court. And so, I don't know what will happen, but I'm certainly not going to shirk my responsibilities of being responsible for and to the employees of the sheriff's office. I'm going to continue to do what they have wanted to do, and they have a right to do, and I hope that it will get better down the road without causing any contention with anybody.
Well, I think mainly what John is saying, and it's, we did that resolution,
Thank
try
you.
to help.
Yep, you did.
But then we
And I
turn around, we
appreciate
get a letter
Get a
saying,
letter
we're
from
gonna
the
sue you
FPPA
now,
that's
or we might sue you
Threatening
now.
us, yeah, that's a
That's,
threatening us.
that's a hard pill to swallow,
Yeah.
when,
Yeah, they were sitting there telling us we're gonna do it their way or else, and.
No, I didn't. I
Well,
don't know if I saw that way, but I know what I know that we're all talking about it here. You know, indemnification is something that has been removed from everything, and I mean we removed it from all contracts, and I understand that completely, and we can't indemnify one government to another. And so I don't know where all that came from, but all I care about is that I want the best for those that serve. That's all I want. And it's taken a long time to have this opportunity for that to happen. I just hope that it can change. I do. I'm real disappointed in the way that things got turned south and sideways, and it isn't your fault. It's nobody here. It has to do with people are always concerned about, you know, money.
Yeah.
And
It all boils down
you
to
know,
that.
This is
That's
their
what
retirement.
it's all about that.
It's
It's
their
all about-
retirement, and it's like, you know, you want the best for them. And that's where I've always stood, and that's where I always will stand, is in support of that.
Well, nobody's lost their retirement, it's just that it's not
Yeah.
changed to the type of retirement that
Yeah. And
they think they want.
so I don't know what will happen down the road, but I'm sure it'll all be explored and discussed, and hopefully things will move forward as a whole. So,
We appreciate not having to be sued.
well, yeah,
Yeah.
you need both.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I
you
appreciate
need
that a
both.
lot.
Yeah. Come and see us anytime, you know, you can.
I'll be a guest, huh? $54
Well,
a
yeah,
day.
you can.
$54 a day.
Write a check when you leave, okay?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is Wanda supposed to be
Wanda's
here?
supposed to be here pretty quick. Did you want to be here when Wanda does her her
JAG
grant? or
grant?
just-
I already know what's in it, so do you, so
Okay.
I'll stay.
I figure she'll be here pretty quick. I gave you all my stuff.
Yeah.
You got anything? Did you have anything that we could go over now, John?
Good. Now, we responded to all of Kinder Morgan's filings last week. There's nothing set right now because our is it right now? Yeah, today I'm supposed to be up in Denver. And when they vacated that last Monday or 2 Mondays ago, they haven't reset it yet. And so we're still waiting to see what happens with all that. There's a lot going on with it. We'll see. It's kind of a big deal, I think. We've got our meeting with MVIC tomorrow. That I guess we're supposed to be there around 2. We don't have really a set time, I think. So those of us who want to go, I don't know if all of you want to go or just one of you wants to go. I'm going to go. And do you guys know where it is?
Yeah, it's out on the highway. On the,
All right, I've got the address. But the FPPA stuff, I think what I should do is do just a resolution explaining that the FPPA transition is not happening. I'll have that for you 2 weeks from now, since we're not meeting next week. Yeah, that's it. Do you guys want to talk about the Dolores Norwood stuff? I mean, there hasn't been much movement. I don't think much to discuss as far as since our.
You did send what you'd prepared.
Already, I mean, they already had it when Derek met with us last week, and I think Derek was suggesting that they were going to put that on their format and give it back to me. They haven't done that yet. I also spoke with John Whitney from Bennett's office last week, and he requested it as well. So I sent it to him. We'll see where that goes.
have you felt the need to enlist with this Kinder Morgan deal our counsel in Grand Junction yet, John?
Yeah, he hasn't. He didn't help me at all with the responses.
Yeah.
But we got a letter from an attorney. Can't remember where this attorney is, but that claimed to represent a number of royalty interest owners and wanted some sort of explanation from Leslie. It was addressed to Leslie, the assessor, Leslie Bugg. And so I forwarded that to Nate Keever, which are our Kinder Morgan attorneys. He's going to help me with that. So hasn't yet, but hasn't actively done any work yet. That's what I enlisted his help with.
Yeah, but if this thing starts getting
bigger
than
I suggested to him that if in fact we have, hundreds, that Kinder Morgan wants 1,601 royalty interest owners to join in with them. I think the courts have already kind of rejected that idea. But if somehow they do convince a lot of these people to, then and I'm in over my head. I already had that discussion with Mr. Keever, saying, maybe we do this together. You second share it or something to that effect, since this is your bailiwick. Is the oil and gas stuff.
we don't want this thing to get away from us.
No, I mean we're only talking about 1 year.
Yeah, but still,
yeah.
talking a couple of $1 million.
Well, I don't think it's that much, but it's
to every entity. Will it not be?
What year are we talking?
2009, potentially 2010, but we actually have a stronger case in 2010. I don't know how much of this conversation I want to
2008
have in public.
2 million.
2 million, sorry.
But they've been less since then.
Yeah.
Still a lot.
Yeah.
She's
Never
Oh,
get
Wanda's
to you.
here. We'll just take her up next.
Hi, Wanda.
Morning, Wanda.
Morning.
Like your folder.
Thank you. I'm here to present the 2018 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistant Grant Program, or the JAG grant. We I've written it requesting 2 additional court security personnel to work in the new combined courts. The total of the grant is $100,000. It would be $50,000 per court security deputy, and that includes their fringe and benefits.
You've gotten this every year, have you not?
Yes.
So a total of 100,000?
Yes.
Is that the most we can ask for?
No.
Should we ask for more?
Okay. So that doesn't cover all of our court security, does it?
It covers 2 additional people for court security, and I was going to request in the next grant a continuation of this one so that it would fund them for another year. We'll have to reduce it 10%. They make you pick up some of the cost, and then we're hoping by the 3rd year to be able to maybe pick up the people in our budget so that we can
What would be the
continue with
negative
that.
to ask for more? Do you think you might lose the 100,000?
No, I don't think that I would, and there is a definite need, and I show it in the grant that we're definitely severely understaffed. We could
Right.
ask for another
'Cause
position.
that's what we had discussed earlier with the sheriff, is if we don't have the funds to staff that fully the way that, then we're only gonna staff it for what they're willing to pay us for.
That's true.
And we'll start reducing that security presence at the court.
So what are you recommending?
150.
Another person?
Well, if you did, if that's what she was saying, that
Yeah, I think that
We could definitely do
I mean,
that.
we don't want to jeopardize it. Don't let us.
That's
No,
what I-
no,
that's
we
why I asked that
would,
question.
There's more money than you
Losing.
can-
But are you gonna, could we lose the 100,000 by doing
you
I
got the
don't-
existing one?
No, because
This
they
is
could,
different.
they could decide to possibly just fund 2 instead of 3. The problem is when you get over 100,000, there are more hoops you have to jump through as far as the funding goes. So that's why we were keeping it at 100,000. I mean, I can do it, and there's just a little bit more that
What do
goes
they make
into
you
it.
do when you ask for more than 100,000?
Oh, we have to file some additional forms with them, and there may be some additional reporting requirements as far as the funding goes.
So, I want to, so we've got a grant for 2 already, so this is trying to get funding
Or
for,
maybe a third, or
Two.
2 more.
One more.
Yeah.
At 150, that would be adding an extra
well,
person.
but these, is this the 2 that we already,
No.
no.
That's
this
the
is
court security grant.
Court security
Okay,
grant, so
that's
This
this
is
a
a
different
different grant.
So this is,
Right.
so this would be, right now it'd be 4,
Mhm.
or if we go
Mhm.
155.
Yes.
So
But is 4 adequate? Is 4 good?
that's what we're dealing with now. The thing is, like I told you, is that the courtroom security grant that we have now, that funding may end up starting to go away. So
Then their security's gonna go away.
listen, but this is hoping to try and at least have a backup to that, so we don't have to reduce that.
Mhm.
Okay.
So that, you would think a brand new
The state-
courthouse.
the state
with
needs to
different
step
requirements. Right now would be the opportunity to try to do what you're saying.
Yeah, and get the state to step up to this stuff. You know, we're providing them the building, the utilities, the whole 9 yards out there.
But we
That's
have
the
an
court-
argument
that's
because
the
it's a
court
new
security
building.
grant.
You know, we can't say, oh, now we get more.
Yeah.
We've got a whole new.
That's the court security grant, and every year we've requested enough to be able to actually cover all those positions, and they have not given it to us. This one is like, we can get this grant for up to 2 years, and then we have to fund these positions
So it's a
ourselves.
temporary.
It's
is
a
it-
temporary.
Oh, so then we're around
Who dictates the
150,000.
Yeah,
requirements
so
for
do you
security
really
at the
wanna
court?
do that?
Like John said, what, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, there was no security?
It was more than that.
10 years ago, there was no security. You walked right in.
Yeah.
So now who's telling you that you have to provide all this security for the courts?
Courts ask for it.
But the courts
Mm-hmm.
Asking for it.
Pretty much the norm now.
But
Mhm.
But, I mean, if you want to be armed when you're talking to people, it's 29.1.304.5. If the state doesn't provide the funding for it, all their requests or mandates
Right, they're
are
unfunded,
optional.
optional.
and up to us. whether
So
or not
we
do
say, you know, we don't have it in our budget to provide this for you, state of Colorado.
Okay, are we doing it for the state of Colorado, or are we doing it for the people in our community that go into that facility? That's what it's about. It's the safety and security of them.
How many incidents have you had in the courts, Steve?
Well, we've had several assaults already and a couple of escapes. That's been solved.
And that was written in the ground.
But the thing
as far as why we need
that
additional
look at what's
staffing.
going on around our country today. We are having these types of violent encounters and these type of situations in places. I don't want us to have that happen here. I don't think any of us do. I'm just trying to say, let's try and match that type of safety and security as best we can. That's all I'm asking for. Okay?
True.
I don't want to have a bad thing happen, and it's gonna. And just look at, we've lost 3 officers in just over a month in Colorado alone. So I'm telling you that it is getting more violent out there, unfortunately. We're all having to deal with it.
When you don't want someone to go into the courthouse with a weapon.
Not
You
at
know,
all.
you've got the safety of all the people, you've got the safety of the judges and all the people that work there that are county employees. Or,
No, they're
I mean,
not
they're not
county-
county
they're
employees.
not
They're,
county employees.
they're
They're not.
State
22nd
employees.
judicial.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not.
They're
But
They're state employees.
But, you know, you've got all of those there as well.
I
And
think
mostly
everybody
the
agrees with
community.
that. I think what we're talking about is, for an example, you can go to Washington DC and you can go into the Senate building or you can go into the building, the House of Representatives, and they have 2 people. Now, I don't know if they got somebody up there that I didn't see, maybe they do, but we have as many as they do to go in.
Into this.
And I would think that people would, well, I shouldn't have said what I was gonna say, but they would be more inclined to carry a weapon in one of them and
Mhm.
But that's what we're saying, are we doing it right?
The-
Or not?
With this one, you have to realize, this is not the court security grant. This is not the one that we get from the state funding. This is an additional grant to provide
More.
extra, and it will go away. I can ask for it for an additional year after this next year with reducing it 10%. But then after that, either these positions go away or we have to pick them up in the budget.
All right,
Well, we
just
already
hope that-
have the positions right now. Sorry to interrupt you.
No.
Don't we already have the positions? We're just funding them from.
Yeah,
county,
we're
so-
funding them from
so
county.
We're just looking for a different funding source.
Yes.
I mean, heck, yeah, we want the money.
Yes.
But we don't have to pay for it out of general.
Yeah, out of general fund. So if you want, I've got to have it in on the 16th, but if you want, I can write it in for 150 and ask for a 3rd person, and they can always say, no, we'll give you 2.
Can you use them, does it have to be for that, can you
Yes.
use the 50,000 for
No.
something else?
Unless whatever I write it in for is what I have to use it
Okay.
for.
And then the other, this is kind of confusing,
So
but the other one, can you be used for anything?
they do now. They're courtroom security, but they're attached to the detention division. So yes, they do handle transports and prisoner escorts. So, but
But it-
they're at the.
But it's 2 people. You can't change it and say,
No.
I want to use it for utilities or something
Yeah.
like
It
that.
has to be
It'd
for the personnel,
Okay.
because that's what the grant was written for.
You're not, these are people that are already there at this point, right?
Right.
Unless we make the grant for 50,000 more.
And then we would add
And one
a
way that
person.
you can look at this is that if this grant funding, from what you're saying, if this grant funding is provided, does that not free up possibly one of those deputies that we already provide 2 that the county pays for, one going into detentions and covering those needs as well. I mean, that's what can happen down the road, and we're getting the state to pay for that. That's the thing. We're asking the state to pay for this security. So why not?
Yeah, sure.
So
I
that's what
understand
this is about.
Yeah.
So we're not actually necessarily ballooning the amount of staff
No.
we have. We're
No.
just gonna.
No,
Yeah.
not at all.
If we add the 50,000.
Yeah. So,
So are you advocating that we add
Yeah,
another 50 grand
exactly.
to it?
I can do
So
that.
we're I guess we're trying to help in making the state be more responsible in paying for those things.
Good.
Okay? And we can move out of it if we can.
Mhm.
All right?
Yeah,
Can we-
And
can
if the
we-
grants don't continue, then we'll back off. We'll
Can
back
we
out.
can we make a decision on this today without it? I mean,
How
with
time
this-
I need
sensitive
this
is this?
decision today because this has got to be in on the 16th.
Do they need to sign it, or they just need to vote?
They just need to vote, approve it, and then I just say it was approved by the Board of Commissioners on this date when it's all done electronically anymore, online.
For the 150.
Yeah, give
Yeah.
me the exact language we need to do to
Is that
make
gonna
that
need
motion.
one of them for electronic signature, or just yours?
It will go, I'm not sure, I think it's just that, I just say that they approve it and the sheriff has to sign it and then it's okay.
Because if I need to do anything, I'm not gonna be here on Friday.
Okay.
I just let it.
No, it's just,
Okay.
it just
Okay.
needs approval.
Okay,
In-house,
that's
okay.
cool.
I move that the 2018 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistant Grant Program, AKA JAG, in the amount of $150,000 to the Montezuma County Sheriff's Office be approved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that to approve a application for a grant for the 2018 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant Program, or JAG. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, I should have said for 150,000, right? Should have said that. Okay.
Okay, I will make the
Corrections
change to
and
the
see
grant
what
and
you
get
get.
it put in. And just so you know that you are listed on the grant as the contact for the commissioner.
Good luck with that, Dale.
We'll keep sending them
But
your way.
he doesn't have to sign or anything on that
Oh,
one, so it's okay.
That's a pretty complicated process, I can tell you that.
It's a lot of fun.
Do this, do this, do this.
I know.
Somehow they.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mwanda.
People, what time is it?
We're still a little ahead of time.
Yeah,
It's
it's
about
about
5 minutes.
I don't see him here yet, so you better.
Yeah, I don't see anybody.
None of them are here.
We can do, we could do Paul. Do you want,
We could finish the commissioner report.
Yeah, let's do that.
I had a WIR call, which is Western Interstate Region, the 15 most western states. And I think this is a really important topic. If the infrastructure bill is approved, it's going to be a switch where the counties, the state used to, the federal government would give you 80% and the county would come up with 20. The Trump administration is proposing just the opposite of that, where the county would come up with 80% and the state would, or the federal government would come up with 20. So what they're saying is where this is going to come into effect and benefit the most is the counties that have got reserves that can do those bigger projects and then leverage it with the 20% from the federal government. And the counties that haven't prepared won't. But we are okay, so I would say that in the future, bigger projects, we could be ones that would be successful in that grant if that infrastructure bill passes.
Does the same thing apply to the state? The state would have to come up with 20%.
I believe so. No, 80.
No,
So
I mean,
it's flopped. Oh, you mean with us dealing with the state?
no, the state dealing with the federal government.
I believe that the state comes up with 80 and the federal government comes up with 20 if I listen to them right.
Okay. Anything else?
I went to the EOC meeting we had here, I think it was on Thursday or Thursday. Very interesting. Had Trevor Denny from the state office down doing a presentation, and we Melissa's made that PowerPoint available. But it's about emergency operations planning, and Paul's got a deal in May that we're gonna do a live deal over in Mancus on a deal, but. Very interesting, very informative stuff, and we've got our county is way ahead. We've got an emergency operations center in the sheriff's department, and we're we're way ahead of the game in a lot of areas, and I think a lot of that credit goes to Paul Holler, who's kept us moving forward, and he's got people in the positions and places that we're not all done, but we're moving in a good direction. And that was a very good meeting. Then went to the cattlemen's meeting on Saturday morning, and had all the political dignitaries there telling what all good things they were doing and what all wonderful things are going to happen. And it was a good meeting. So I'll let Commissioner Suka was more involved in the business meeting of that than I was. But.
Now there was, and if you were running for office, they got up and spoke for 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you, and it's actually a topic that was also brought up at the WIR conference call, and that is this electronic logging device. That is going to devastate our cattle industry as far as prices if that isn't changed, and so we'll see what happens. But the biggest topic, I mean that's a serious topic, but the other one, in my opinion, is the country of origin labeling. And what happened was, if most people don't know this, there was a representative over on the eastern side wanted to pass a resolution that in Colorado that if your beef came from the United States, it would be marked USA. And because right now, all the consumers in the United States are being lied to. They have got a stamp on the beef and it says USDA, and they think that their beef came from the United States, and it did not come from the United. There's a very good chance it didn't, because it's when it comes into the country, they inspect it, and then when they inspect it, they put a stamp that says USDA. It could have came from God knows where, and so the whole thing about this is when COOL was in place, which is called Country of Origin. They took it out in 2012. When it was in place, we had calves that brought $2.50 a pound. They brought $1,500 a head if it's a 600-pound calf. And now they are at $750 a head a pound. And so what I brought up with Mr. Gordonier, which is something that was extremely important, is it's one of the largest livestock organizations in the state of Colorado. There's 47. You looked out in the crowd, there was 60 people. They estimated there was 4 that were 35 years of age or younger. Everybody else was 60, 70, 80 years old. And the point is this: our industry's dying, our farming industry's dying, our livestock industry's dying because we're not being replaced by the younger generation. And I can tell you that's what it is this: money. If you tell a kid that he could sell 100 calves and he grosses $150,000, you're going to have that kid be interested in being a rancher. But if you tell that kid that you're going to get $60,000 for 100 head, and he can go after, that's gross, he could go work over here at the bike shop and make more money. That's exactly what he's going to do. So I think it's a critical topic that you need to have this country of origin, and it gives you a niche to where people will pay more money for the beef. So that's one of the main topics. But interestingly, I'm going to say it, and I hope that it gets back to him, the Colorado Cattlemen's Association was against this, and I truly believe that they were against it because they are in the pockets of the packers. I truly believe that the packers have so much money that and I believe that if I could, it's an organization my grandfather used to be the president of. It was a very dignified organization, but I believe they should be called the Colorado Packers Association and not the Colorado Cattlemen's Association, because they are doing a disjustice to the rancher. And I would love for them to debate me anytime, telling me that they're trying to help when both subjects, they gave an excuse, they whined. We told them we pay them dues, Southwest Colorado members, and what can you do for us? And they just kept making excuse after excuse that they would take baby steps. Well, to me, when you take something that was worth $1,500 2 years ago and you take it to $750, that wasn't a baby step. And so you don't use a baby step to get it back to $1,500. I'm very passionate about it.
Yeah. Rightfully so, I think. Okay, now how are we doing with the Ag Expo group.
How are you guys doing?
Good morning, good, how are you?
Morning.
Morning, Tom.
I can see.
Morning, Tom.
I'll sit over here.
John?
I'll take too much of your time. I didn't send you the PowerPoint, so I just printed out a few. Nothing major, just wanted to kind of let you guys know what we're doing this year. It's our second year for the Ag Exceptional Radio for the kids with special needs. I didn't bring one.
Oh, all right, I'll
Just
share.
kidding.
Here you go.
Oh, you
I'm
got-
just
you got
kidding.
yours? Oh, all right.
No, you can pass that down.
I think
He has one.
Okay. One to Kim when we leave.
Did you hear her?
Will you give one to Kim?
Oh, sure.
Last year we hosted, you guys heard some at the cattlemen's meeting, but we hosted about 30 to 40 kids at the Ag Exceptional Rodeo last year. This year it's looking to be about 70. So it's growing for that. And they have, it's kind of become an exciting event for the kids that don't generally get to participate very much because they don't bring them to the CAF program, even though we're trying to work them through the CAF program again. And then that's our event basically for the school kids and for the public on Saturday or any day that kind of pairs with classroom standards to teach them agricultural ways of life. I'm sure you remember that. We have 3 great clinicians coming this year, a couple from Texas and one's kind of a local guy, Ted Holland. And then we have Mike Major as our headliner and Jimmy Brown is our gaited horseman. And they ought to be very interesting. Kathy Sumaraki and Maya Stovall are expanding again on the stock dog trials that we did last year. And they are sanctioned with AKC, so it ought to be a really good trial set this year. And of course, our vendors are turning out to be excellent this year. We have quite the variety again. It just surprises me the people that come out of woodwork and show up. So it's going to be an interesting lineup this year. Kind of a good cover. And of course, we have other youth events that are going to happen. And we try and tie them all back. A lot of people don't see it, but like our cross-cut branding, that kind of teaches the little kids a little bit of starting their ag life. And then, the mutton busting and, of course, the chicken chasing. They take those chickens home and they get to keep them. And so even though some of the parents aren't too thrilled, they still have to learn how to care for the chicken. So it's just kind of little ways that we kind of try and insert ourselves to help with that. This year we have the Pioneer Jubilee coming with Linda Carter, and they're going to be bringing out, she sent me a list the other day of probably at least 7 nursing homes that'll be coming out on Thursday to take part of that. And it's also obviously open to the public as well, but that'll be on Thursday.
Well, I'd like to bring something up. And so, Hardy, first of all, I'll tell you what, that boy can talk now.
He
looks
can.
Like he's just, he looks like he's scared to death, but
he did a good
anytime
job.
you guys get a chance to put him up in front of the mic, I would suggest doing it because I thought he was one of the best speakers, including senators and representatives at that meeting.
He did great, and he has such a voice for it. I keep trying to get him on the radio, but he won't.
But he brought up a topic that was, I believe, so important that you guys are going to do, and it had to do with drought and reduction of herds and how to go about that wisely. He brought up something I never even thought of because we always just sell our cull cows, our older cows, about a different way of doing it with some of your younger cows, do both. And boy, if there was a way to get that out, because if things don't change,
it's going to be
that
bad.
is going to be packed with people wanting to listen to what that gentleman had to say.
Yeah,
or is going to have to say.
Yeah,
Did
and
you-
he was going to do some other stuff, but he kind of had it's Ryan Rhodes.
Where's he from? Can you?
He's from CSU, I believe.
Yeah, he's our regional beef
That's what I
specialist.
thought. Yeah, him and Libby Bigler both will be down here again. But so he had a different variety of topics to come on, and that was kind of the main one to. And I don't have like a description of exactly what he's going to cover yet. I just have that as a title, and so that ought to be great. And then he's going to kind of work that in with the drought mitigation as well in that whole talk. So I'm glad you brought that up again. But
I just did really cut
I think it's gonna be great. And he just calls it diversifying cow-calf operations, and then he's working it in with the drought mitigation. So yeah, I think he's gonna be great with that. And then he's gonna cover the EPDs, which a lot of people, and I'm sure you guys have run into that, you talk about EPDs and numbers and they're just kind of like a blank stare on their face. And you know, like Hardy brought up, he's like, every time we start looking at that again, I have to kind of refresh myself. So just trying to bring some of that in. And that was some of the suggestions from the cattlemen that Hardy got for that. And then obviously we're going to provide the renewal of the classes for your pesticide applicators license again. And we don't charge, we just charge the $5 for that, just the gate fee. And our ag commissioner's coming, Don Brown's coming. And let's see, we're going to do the BQHA certification class again with shoot side vaccinations and things. And then the water law 101 at the sheriff's office here teaches. And then we've got various other things like Tyler Wilbanks is coming in, and he's going to talk about various things that he does with his farm, basically kind of being a non-motorized type farm, and ways to take care of the soil better and stuff. So his kind of overall is, are you working for your farm or is your farm working for you type deal. But he's also going to bring his draft horses out and do sessions all 3 days with his draft horses. So he's kind of another horse clinician type deal, but he's going to be doing a progressive kind of deal with his lectures in the morning and his working horses in the afternoon. And then Kathy Curry is going to be doing food preservation, not to waste your food, how to grow specific things so you can grow all year long. She's also going to talk about, she calls them cold frames, kind of a box type garden deal that helps you grow all year long as well. Nice. So that's just some of the stuff to cover.
Where does the ideas come up for what you have out at the Ag Expo?
Well, we have a wonderful board. We have a full board now, so including myself, we have 10 of us. And starting right after the show, and even kind of before the show, we just start brainstorming. And then as we're out in the community, such as if I was to come in and talk to you, I would ask for, you know, what would you guys like to see?
I'll tell you.
Okay, awesome. Well, tell us. I didn't bring a pen, so.
You want?
Pencil?
You want a pen?
Yes,
You got one.
that would be great.
As you was there at the meeting, I would like something about marketing, or getting our meat stamped where it came from.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
I mean,
So
you can
the
go in any country in the world, I don't care if it's Britain, China, wherever, and it's stamped, except for the United States.
What's this Colorado Beef Quality Assurance Certification class? That might be a...
Yeah, it's and I don't know all the details of that. I never get to attend any of this stuff. Do you know more about
it's
what they?
It's a little course that's given by someone who's certified to teach it, and they get a certificate at the end. And it does provide a little bit of added value as well. There was Hardy mentioned about
There is added value, and I don't
much
remember
added
how
value
much.
it was, but I don't remember.
I think that's what Larry Don's talking about too.
That's what I'm talking about, and I don't, this is the deal. The Farm Bureau came and they went against that bill that was going through Colorado, and this is my point. The Farm Bureau is great for private property rights. The Farm Bureau is great for farmers' rights. They don't have a clue about marketing, and if they did, wheat prices would not be 20% higher in 65 years.
Right.
It's not their forte. The people that know about marketing are livestock auctions and like Superior Livestock. Those people know how to market stuff. Farm Bureau has no business in trying to market because the numbers don't lie. And so it's very upsetting to me to have an organization that I respect so much stick their nose in something they don't have a clue about.
Right. Well, this is I do have a little bit of space, so if I can find somebody to talk about this. I could probably get it added this year, if not next year for sure.
Bonds, Maureen Bonds.
Lorraine, would they talk about that? Okay,
I believe
I'll
they will.
contact her. Okay, I'll contact her today and see if she would come in, because I do have a little bit of time that I could stick her in. That'd be great. So yeah, that's kind of what we do, is we meet with people, and we obviously would love for people to come up during the show and tell us. I get lists during the show about different things. Mostly it's townies wanting carnival rides or something like that, but we're not a circus. We're not going to turn it into that. So, yeah, and then like Hardy went to one of the cattlemen's meetings last fall, and that's how he got some of those topics. We obviously go through the extension agents. Gus Westerman always has great foresight on some of that stuff, and so we obviously always need suggestions, because we try and cater to the public as much as possible.
Sure you
you
do.
know, and
That's who
we
you
get a
do.
list, and some of the stuff it's like there's no way we can do that, but other stuff it's like, yeah, we can fit that around. Like this year, we're kind of catering to the small sustainable farming side of things a little bit. Where next year it's going to be the big farm. You know, we can't make everybody happy all the time, so we try and take the suggestions, but we always have to switch back and forth. So.
And the Southwest Cattlemen's passed a resolution in support of country origin labeling as well, so we fit right in.
Oh,
with that
okay.
organization.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and Lorraine Bonds is with CICA, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll contact her. Because they decided not to come this year, and I don't know why. It seems like they couldn't really.
For a booth wise or what?
Yeah, they've always been there, and this year it kind of seemed like they just kind of fell apart a little bit. I don't know. I don't know why. Just,
Durango.
Yeah,
She might have her hands full.
permit problem.
Yeah,
It probably is. Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
they
because
just.
they're in use yet, the whole ranch.
Yeah, they just kind of seemed to, the whole club just kind of seemed to be in an uproar for some reason. So anyway, but yeah, I'll talk to her and see if I can get her to talk about that stuff. Thank you. So any other questions on it? Well, we would love to invite you guys out again, and obviously we need lots of volunteer help for, like Hardy said, for the Ag Sectional Rodeo. So if you guys would like to come be part of that, that's Thursday morning.
Do you have a schedule? If you could send us a
Yes, I do.
give me a
It's actually
schedule.
on the website.
Okay.
But I can email you one, and it's changing quite a bit between now and the
Okay.
show. But I try and update it, and I didn't on the last one, but I usually put at the top when the last update was.
Okay. Then I can just forward to them.
Okay. Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, I'd wait until first week of July. Yeah, July. I'm done.
Let's not wait till July, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, so thank you guys for all your time. Sorry about previous confusions and things like that, but having a full board now, sometimes my loop isn't big enough to keep them all reined in.
You guys work it out for you.
Yeah, it's great though. Thank you guys.
Okay,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you.
I'm gonna try and
Look
get
for
back
another
home.
successful year.
Yes, yes, for sure.
Paul, I think you're next.
How you doing, Paul?
Good, but stuff.
Morning.
Morning, Paul.
Kenny, long time no see.
Yeah. Been a while,
Okay, this morning is directly concerning the Montezuma County annual operating plan for wildfires. Something that we do annually. We held the meeting a little over a week ago. This year was supposed to be some drastic changes, but the feds could not get their changes in line. So it's almost status quo. They're still arguing over some of the particulars they would like to change in the future. Hopefully they leave it as is, but we'll see. When the draft came out, I did send a few concerns in, and it's some of it's because we've grown as a county and some of our capabilities. Some of it is lessons learned from other folks. So we addressed the public information or the joint information system. Typically, the way they had it is they wanted all public information. If we turned it over to an incident management team in the state, for that incident commander to have to approve all the public information before it was released. We're not going to play that way anymore. So fire suppression activities, that incident commander should be over. That's his realm. But consequence management, sheltering, all the other stuff that the county does, no, that's going to
Yeah,
be.
because those
that's
guys
gonna be
can come
ours.
from anywhere.
Yes, sir.
So they're not familiar with where we are.
So the fire suppression piece, as far as how many acres is burned, what the suppression is, the firefighters on scene, that type of stuff would remain under their control. We would work closely with them, and then we would expect their public information officer to work closely with our group. So we agreed upon those changes. some pushback from the State Division of Fire Prevention and Control, DFPC. In the past, the sheriff turns over the fire to the state if it qualifies for emergency firefighting fund or the EFF that we put into. In the past, the state takes over as the agency administrator, and rightfully so, because they're paying the bill for suppression. And the county became an agency representative, which means when it comes to that incident command team and certain things, the county had an opinion, but it didn't lost some of its rights. La Plata's worked hard on this, and some of the other counties have worked hard, and we had a long discussion. The county, even though we submit, the sheriff would turn that over, we would retain agency administrator rights, which means if it's on BLM is setting there's an agency administrator. The state DFPC would be an agency administrator, but the county's not going to give up its right to be an agency administrator, so that we have input into what that incident management team is doing and how they do things. It's not and explain to them, nobody here is going to tell that incident management team how to fight the fire. But when it comes to consequence management and other things, we need to be able to have our input. So we fought for that, and that is in the.
And you did get it.
Yes.
Well, you can think of all kinds of scenarios. Roads, they don't know our roads. What if there's one way, or there's two ways out, and they think there's only one way in?
Well, the Weber fire was a fine example. Everybody regionally, from the FMO field management officer, whether it's DFPC, Tanner Hutch, state with Trevor Denny, our fire chiefs, the sheriff, myself, everybody plays in the sandbox really well. It's when it goes to the next level at the state or the Fed that
Or the BLM,
we can run into conflict. So this maintains that we have a dog in the fight. Even though you're paying the suppression bill, we have a dog in the fight, and we still have bills to pay for consequence management.
Yeah.
We should have that same authority. So that is in the annual operating plan.
That's good.
Another thing that changed was BLM rules. George wasn't real happy with this one, but he's going to comply. BLM has come down and said if it was, we had 11 lightning strikes and 4 of them were on BLM, and George's crew for fire was the first ones out there. You can't have anyone under 18 years old.
Oh, they had a lot of those. I know why George didn't like that.
Because he has some folks that get partners up with the next season, and they go out there and put out
You got
one
to teach
fire
them
tree.
so that they can become a firefighter.
Yeah,
It's
but
an educational deal.
but that's BLM's rule, and we'll have to somewhat comply.
What about the first drop? Is it still free?
That's actually a positive. It's not just the first drop is going to be free. Aircraft during initial attack will be free. So multiple drops during initial attack will be free. So that was an added change.
How long does the initial attack last?
It's debatable.
Yeah.
It's I guess the easiest way to put it is while you're trying to get your arms around it. Once you establish an incident management team and do those type of things, then it becomes an extended attack. But for several hours when you first get on scene trying to knock it down, could be considered an initial attack.
And who all can ask for that first drop?
In the county, from our side, any of the fire chiefs, myself, the sheriff, undersheriff, are all authorized, and dispatch are authorized to request those resources. Other than that, the AOP is basically the same. We didn't have too many arguments, but it was a long discussion, especially on the agency administrator. What's that?
The agency administrator?
Agency administrator. That was a long discussion. Tanner and I had a long discussion of a bunch of what ifs, but I think DFPC understands that the counties aren't going to give that authority up anymore. Other than that, it's just, unless you have questions, we just need to adopt the plan or approve the plan, and then a signature from James.
See your map, that map really tears me up.
What's that?
But look how little land we have any say so over in that whole dadgum county. We got a little gray strip right through the middle of it that's really ours to have any say so over. Crazy.
First of all, I'd like to say, Paul, you did a heck of a job trying to keep local control where it should be, right here, because it's hard for somebody that comes from somewhere else to know as much as the people that live here. I would move that we approve the 2018 Montezuma County Annual Operating Plan.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the 2018 Montezuma County Annual Operating Plan. All in favor?
Aye.
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 this week?
12.
12.
12.
Almost lunchtime. Hey, can we have Melissa drive today? I'm really hungry. We'll get there quicker.
What, do you want to get there in a hurry?
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna tell you, I can't wait for you to get something on him.
You watch me get a speeding ticket this afternoon.
It's
Sure
a long,
enough.
it's a long road that don't have any curves in it, Super.
Sure
And
enough, I'll get
you're
a-
already lighting the fire right here.
I'm gonna put an offense bulletin on every vehicle he has.
Alrighty, we'll adjourn for lunch.
I'll second that.
Ready, huh?
I'm ready.
Melissa, just wait. Eventually, one of them will get a ticket.
Well,
It's just.
Oh, I
that-
guarantee I probably will tomorrow.
I got one last year.
It's just,
Well, why didn't we hear about it last
Because it was out of the county. It was over in San Miguel County.
It doesn't matter.
There's public disclosure rules. You
Oh,
gotta
oh,
disclose.
that yellow thing. Thank
probably
you,
one of
John.
the honest, most honest people I've ever met in my life. And so anything like this is a once in a lifetime opportunity.
And Larry Don thinks the community needs to know about it.
Yeah, he thinks everybody is. Boy, you are opening up the door, buddy.
Okay, I'm done.
You better be 100.